2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Police Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday draft day edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. Whatever your favorite holiday is, today is that feeling where you wake up, you get ready to go, and after the build-up, the speculation, are you going to get the gift that you want or not? Are you going to want to see the family members that are coming or not? You finally get some clarity. Because tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be on my couch. I will have my phone up. We'll have some reactions potentially leaking out there on social media as well, at Zach Gelb, as they happen. And I can't wait to see what transpires through the first 32 picks of the NFL draft for our Thursday coverage. We have a loaded show for you today. Former NFL general manager Thomas Dimitroff will be joining us in studio at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Then at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Andrew Perloff from the Maggie and Perloff show will be joining us in studio as well. So Thomas Dimitroff in studio, 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. top of the hour, Andrew Perloff in studio right here on the Zach Gelb Show. So, I think the two biggest stories for this NFL draft, and this shows you a little bit of the fun and then the stupidity of the NFL draft process. But we have sat here for the last 3 months, and we have basically gone all out. February, March, April, NFL draft, NFL draft, NFL draft. Some of my favorite radio that we do. But even I could admit, as you get into this final week, and really as you got into these last 24 hours, it was like, oh my goodness gracious. Just let this draft conversation, enough with the speculation, have it be done with. And let's get some answers. And tonight we get those answers. But the two biggest things that I have on my mind going into this draft tonight, number one, when you take a glance at Shedeur Sanders, where is he going to go? I think Shedeur Sanders, for a guy who probably in all likelihood is not going in the top 10, is probably not going in the first 15 picks of the draft, he is easily, and he's not even attending the draft, the biggest story of the draft tonight and where he's going to go. And outside of Shedeur, I actually think right now it's a big story, but I don't think the storyline has really impacted his draft stock, and I don't anticipate people believing right now that he's going to fall, but the arm length stuff with Will Campbell. Because we had on Joe Thomas yesterday, legendary offensive lineman, one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time, Hall of Fame offensive lineman, and they said back in 2007 that he had short arms. And Joe went off on it, and people online and social media, right, they've reacted to it. And I'm just curious. I know it's not a sexy position. I find the offensive line to be a sexy position. Nationally, though, I understand many of you listening are like, Zach, stop at the offensive lineman. But I think most people anticipate Will Campbell going forward to the Patriots. But then you hear about Kelvin Banks. Then you also hear about Armin Membu as well. Could there be a surprise with the offensive lineman? And all this talk, which we've had fun with alligator arms in Will Campbell, can that actually impact his draft stock? Right now, if you put a gun to my head with all the talk that we've had about this, Zach, is the short arm conversation going to impact his draft stock? I don't think so, because he's going 4 overall, is what I truly believe to the New England Patriots. Like, is there a chance that maybe the Patriots are the first team to actually go through on a trade? If someone maybe wants to jump now the Jaguars for Ashton, Jeanty, I guess that's a possibility. Or maybe even the Raiders. If somebody, it could be the Bears too. You know, if someone maybe wants to drop someone in that and jump someone in that 5, 6, 7 range, so a Tyler Warren, maybe it's to go make sure that they go get their offensive lineman. Is there a possibility that the Patriots trade back a few spots and still get Will Campbell? Yes, I guess it's possible, but I would be shocked if Will Campbell isn't going to the New England Patriots. So those to me have been the two biggest storylines with this NFL draft. Will Campbell and his arm length, which I'm so sick and tired of talking about this. And then also Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur is the fascinating one. And it's wild because these takes, what I've realized in the NFL draft, they don't change month to month. They don't even necessarily change week to week. I think they change day to day. Where we started with Shedeur Sanders was, okay, who's the number one quarterback in this draft class? Is it Cam Ward or is it Shedeur Sanders? Since then, it has turned into, okay, Cam Ward is the number one quarterback. Cam Ward is the number one pick, and he'll be going number one tonight to the Tennessee Titans. Then the conversation has become, and this is where it really trickled on down to would you go with Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, or Shedeur Sanders? Now, I have sat here until I'm literally blue in the face, and I've said this 5,366 times probably, that if I was Andrew Berry at 2, I would draft Shedeur Sanders. And once he passes on Shedeur Sanders, which I don't think he is going to take him, then if I'm Joe Shane, I would take Shedeur Sanders as well at 3. I have already waved the white flag 2 weeks ago, and I've all told you that I anticipate Travis Hunter going 2 to the Cleveland Browns and Shedeur Sanders not going 3 to the Giants, but Abdul Carter going 3 to the Giants. Then when it comes to Shedeur, this is where it gets fascinating. Because if I was the Raiders at 6 and if Jeanty's off the board, even if Jeanty is there, and I think Jeanty is the 4th best player in this draft, I would take Shedeur Sanders. The Saints at 9, I would take Shedeur Sanders. But I have come to the reality of the situation that Shedeur, whether you believe it or not, this is what I believe. He's not going 2. He's not going 3. He's not going 6. And he's not going 9. I don't think he's going to Cleveland with their first selection, the Giants with their first selection, the Saints at 9, or even before that, the Raiders a little bit before that earlier at 6. So me looking at Shedeur right now, not going in the top 10 picks, where is he going to go? And I'll tell you tonight, folks, and Joe Thomas even said it yesterday. He took it to being the equivalence of a Super Bowl. I wouldn't go there, but I get the point that he was trying to make. If I am Andrew Berry, if I am Joe Schoen, and I'm trying to save my job, imagine the way that you would be talked about in a positive way if, and this is a major if, you could get Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders, or Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. And where Shedeur is going to go tonight is the biggest storyline for a multitude of reasons. Number one, Cam Ward has been proven right now in all these mock drafts to be perceived as the better quarterback over Shedeur Sanders. Then after that, Shedeur has gone from potentially going 2 to the Browns to now falling out of the top 10. And I think most of us anticipate the farthest he's going to fall is to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. And think about the dominoes that fall if the Steelers do take Shedeur Sanders at 21. Because then it's, oh, well, what does that mean for Aaron Rodgers? But also, I'm assuming something. And you know what happens when you assume? You sometimes make an ass out of you and me. I'm assuming Shedeur Sanders is going to be the second quarterback in this draft. I think he'll be the second quarterback taken. But could someone fall in love with the Jalen Milroe? Could someone fall in love with Jackson Dart? So I do think that there's a cutoff on how far, in my mind, realistically, Shedeur will fall. And that's to 21. And could there be a team that jumps back in from the second round into the first, or is picking later in the second and wants to jump the Steelers, and you look at the 18, 19, 20 range to get Shedeur? Absolutely. That's a possibility. And that's where I'm anticipating Shedeur to go tonight. Anywhere between 18 to 21 does not mean teams 18, 19, and 20 are going to take him, but it would be via trade. But that's what I'm thinking. But sometimes I think things and they end up being wrong. And could you imagine if this storyline plays out like this, where we had about 2 months ago, even a month ago, legitimate talk about the decision that had to be made on should the Browns take Shedeur at 2? At a time, should Tennessee actually take Shedeur at 1? Right? Some people think the coach there, Callahan, is a better fit with Shedeur Sanders than Cam Ward. Emory Hunt was the first person that said that to us. And it's been repeated by some other folks too. So we're talking about a guy that was talked about at once 1 or 2, mainly 2, and then if not 2, oh, definitely 3, to now falling past 6, falling past 9. And if the Steelers end up liking a quarterback other than Shedeur, or they don't want to take a quarterback and that's a smokescreen, they still want to go with Aaron Rodgers, could you imagine the world we go through the first 32 picks tonight and Shedeur Sanders doesn't get taken? It would be crazy. So as I woke up today, I really said to myself, what's the biggest storyline of the draft? And I've thought to myself, well, what's the thing you've been talking about the most in the last 3 weeks? And really, actually not 3 weeks, 3 months. And it's been Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur Sanders. And the reason why the Shedeur Sanders story is so fascinating is because no one could tell you with 100% certainty where Shedeur Sanders is going right now. Like, my best guess, my best educated guess right now, right? My hypothesis, as they would used to say when you were growing up as a kid, my hypothesis is Shedeur Sanders is going to go at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But can I tell you I'm going to place a significant wager on that? No, I can't. Nothing would surprise me tonight with Shedeur Sanders. Nothing. And that's why it is such a big story, because the name is massive. The player, whether it's intentional or not, and I think it's more unintentional, is polarizing. And also, we don't have a damn clue where he's going to go. And most of us think he's going to drop out of 10, and then the farthest he could go is 21. But sometimes, even when you place that range, the range could get exceeded, and maybe he falls even further than that. But it's a wild conversation to me because not that long ago we were talking about this guy being the second pick of the draft, and now I can't even sit here and tell you he'll go in the top 10. So that's, to me, the biggest storyline tonight. Stu, outside of Shedeur Sanders, what's your biggest storyline with the draft tonight? What really it stands out to you and you're intrigued about?
To me, it's where Ashton Jeanty ultimately lands, what team drafts him. Obviously, when we first started talking about the draft, we thought he'd go in the 20s, and then that creeped up into the teens, and then, around 10 or 12 to the Cowboys or Bears, and then forever it seemed like he was mocked to the Raiders at 6. Now it seems like he's going to go top 5 to the Jaguars, or maybe someone trades up to get him. To me, wherever he lands, I think is very intriguing because he might be the guy who wins Offensive Rookie of the Year next year.
Yeah, and I've said this before, going back to September, he's a mixture of Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, and Marshawn Lynch. And quite frankly, if I could give you a selfish wish, if Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are off the board 2 and 3, which I anticipate them being for my Patriots, I hope the Patriots take him at 4. I would love that. And I know my teams has a lot of holes, but that's how much I love the player that is Ashton Jeanty. I think it's fascinating because, like most of us, like you feel right now, Stu, 1's Cam Ward, 2 is Travis Hunter, 3's Abdul Carter, 4 is Will Campbell probably?
I would say so, yes.
And look at the Jaguars at 5. Most of us thought it's Mason Graham. Now most of us think it's Ashton Jeanty. To see what the Jaguars is going to do is going to be an interesting one. And then could you imagine, after everyone thinking he's going to the Raiders, everyone thinking he's going to the Jaguars, if picks 5 and 6 come and Jeanty doesn't go? Because that's, like, we all talked about the Cowboys originally at 12. And then I was like, the Bears, they should go get him. And then it catapulted all the way up till 6, where it was like, oh, definitely, it's going to be the Raiders. And now it's moving all the way up to 5 to the Jaguars. Santer, what is your biggest draft storyline tonight with Jeanty off the board and then also Shedeur Sanders off the board?
So
I have a list.
Yeah, no, I have one. You guys took my top 3, so I had another one. This is the first time since the common draft era began that there hasn't been a single first-round trade of any pick.
Oh, before the draft.
Before the draft. So every year there's something shocking that happens at the draft, right? Whether it's Michael Penix last year, or the Panthers moving up to number 1, or the Texans taking Stroud 2 and then trading back up to 3 to take Will Anderson. Every year there's a shock. There's something crazy that happens that we don't expect. The Raiders taking Cleveland Farrell, number 4.
Don't do this to Stu. Don't go through the Raiders draft picks right now.
I can't. Not today. Not today, please.
This is hope. This is optimism. This is a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life.
This is usually the worst day of the year for me, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we're trying to make Stu great again. All right, that's what we're trying to do.
Massa?
Just let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. I gave you Bublé and I gave you the Beatles. Just let it be right here. All right?
But yeah, so for me, it's like, what's the shocking thing that's going to happen? So far, it's been boring. So far, it's been no trades. Nothing crazy's happened. There's going to be something crazy happen. There's going to be a guy like yesterday when Fitzy took Jeanty 4 for the Patriots in our mock draft. There's going to be something that we're just not expecting. The Patriots or the Jaguars, someone's going to do something that's going to blow our minds in the top 10, top 15, and it's going to be what we're going to talk about. We don't know what it is yet, but it's going to happen because it always does.
Well, that's what I like the most about this draft is because so many people, they want the answers to everything. I like not having the answers to the tests right now. This is fun. And that's because we have a lot of intrigue and speculation with this draft. Alrighty, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Former NFL general manager Thomas Dimitroff joins us next in studio. You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, the NFL Draft Day is here. Let's welcome in a man who was an NFL general manager for a long time with the Atlanta Falcons, and that, of course, is Thomas Dimitroff, now with Sumer Sports, which is a great analytical website. We'll get into all that in just a bit, and he's kind enough to join us right now in studio. Happy Draft Day, Thomas. How you been?
It's great when you don't have to pick the picks all the time. You can just watch them fly by.
So I have a few questions for you, just because we talk about so much leading up to the draft, and I never know with what we're talking about if it's actually true or not. So I'll start you off with Joe Shane, who I happen to like. Had a rough year this past year, obviously, with the Saquon Barkley stuff. The Eagles win the Super Bowl and all of that. he's clearly on the hot seat to me, him and Brian Daboll, and they're picking at 3. And I think it's pretty obvious at this point that Cam Ward's going 1. We think Travis Hunter's going 2, and then they're probably going to go Abdul Carter in with the 3rd overall selection. I've been sitting here, just talking about it, and I go, if I was him, if I draft Abdul Carter, who ironically I think is the best player in the draft, I don't know if that saves my job, because if you have 6 or 7 wins and you have a great pass rusher, I think they're still going to fire at the end of the year. If I draft a quarterback and he just plays well at the end of the year, the wins and losses are kind of irrelevant to me because it gives some hope to the fan base. So does that at all weigh on your mind when you're drafting? And if maybe you kind of see some of the signs, this could be the end of the road, maybe you end up taking the quarterback and you reach on a QB.
It's a great point. Abdul Carter is top-notch, no question, pillar guy, 100%. On the quarterback side, though, however, you're exactly right. I mean, we are all gauged by our quarterback acquisitions, how adept we are about bringing them in, drafting them, or keeping them and re-signing them. I've always said that as a GM especially, and I'm speaking about Joe Shane, not necessarily Brian Daboll. I mean, you are judged by your quarterback prowess, picking prowess, right? And how you're going to do that. This organization, of course, needs a quarterback that's going to carry him in, to the next waves. Now, I know they did something in free agency, right? Or did they? No, they did not yet.
They got Russell Wilson.
Well, they got Russell Wilson,
and
yes,
Jameis Winston.
And Jameis Winston, yes.
But none of those, if I'm being honest, none of them excite me if I'm a Giant fan.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's funny because they're not exciting, but when you bring in a guy like Shedeur Sanders, is he exciting? I mean, I'm sure you're probably going in that direction. When you talk about Shedeur, he's got a lot to offer, but he also has a lot to offer, right? You better be the right organization that's ready to bring that on. Shedeur and Co., I call it, right? I mean, there's a lot to it. It's going to be really interesting. You better make the right move in today's quarterback moves. And this draft class, obviously, it's not great. I don't even know who the 3rd is yet. You're going to ask me that. I still don't know where we're going with that.
Yeah, the way that I ranked them, and I had Cam Ward at 1, Shedeur Sanders at 2, and then I have anytime someone has texted me, friends or people in the media, I then put about 7 or 8 spaces and drop all the way down. I put Jalen Milroe 3. This is a little, not a popular opinion, Dylan Gabriel 4, and then Jackson Dart 5. I look at Milroe. He has, to me, a tremendous amount of upside. Like, he has a high ceiling. I hate that, though, because whenever I hear someone go, he has a high ceiling, I got to see it more. And with him, it's either all or nothing, and there's no just average game for me out of Jalen Milroe. But I think that upside is what puts him at 3.
That idea of, Shedeur Sanders or Abdul Carter and then moving back in to get one of that, whoever that 3rd quarterback is appealing to me right now, to know that you could sink someone like Abdul legitimately and come back in on a Milroe.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing because Milroe is legitimately talented. I was saying to the guys earlier, though, in the Southeast, there is such a divide on him when you're walking down the streets of Atlanta just because of all the Alabama people there. Some praise him and others are way against him for just different reasons, right? It's just the way it is.
Well, they loved him after the Georgia game. They hated him after the Oklahoma
That's exactly
game.
right. That's exactly right. But I start thinking about this. When you say Dylan Gabriel, by the way, you're not that far off. Like our group, our Sumer Sports group, and we have a lot of really talented football men that are evaluating. They're really bullish on him in a lot of ways. Where he goes, who knows? Does he go in the 2nd? Does he go in the 3rd or 4th? I don't know. But do you move up? I was going to ask you, do you truly move up into the back end of the 1st when you're pressed to truly land that quarterback?
Sometimes you don't want to be the guy on Friday that wins the draft because I feel like those guys end up getting fired within a year or 2. But I look at if I'm Andrew Berry or if I am Joe Shane, the way I win the draft is what you're saying. You get Travis Hunter at 2 or Abdul Carter at 3, and then you're the one that moves back up in that 18, 19, 20 range to then go get Shedeur Sanders. And wouldn't that be something? I talked to Joe Thomas the other day, and he goes, well, we haven't had much success in Cleveland, but it would be like winning the Super Bowl if they could get Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders on the same team.
It would be unbelievable. And I start to think about that sometimes with Shedeur. Like, I know there was talk about it. I mean, how far does he truly potentially fall? And where do you go and how aggressive do you get when we start talking about quarterback taxes, right? If you're in that beginning of the 2nd round, do you move up to 20, 19, 16? How far do you go? You're talking to someone that moved up a long, long way for Julio Jones. So I get it. When you want someone, you have to go after him. You can't sit on your hands in the National Football League, especially when you're hot.
So let's actually go back to that 2011 draft because I was revisiting it because I was looking at some of your better draft picks, right? Sure. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are the first two that come to mind. That draft, you had Cam go 1, Von Miller go 2, Marcel Darius, he didn't last long league, but had a few All-Pros, A.J. Green, Patrick Peterson, who just retired and should be in the Hall of Fame eventually, and then Julio Jones. Take me through that whole deal and how it did go down for you guys to get to Julio.
Yeah, look, we got up in the morning, and I had talked to Tom Heckert about it, with Cleveland, and we were trying to make sure that we could secure something, and it was a done deal when we were going on the clock. I just think everyone in the world could not believe that we were moving down that many spots because we were at 27, right? We basically moved down, and everyone always asks us, okay, Thomas, but A.J. Green was from Georgia. Were you really going to take? Was he there by default, Julio Jones? And I said, ultimately, I love both of them. But Julio was just a little bit bigger, a little more stout, a little bit more along the lines of the system that we were looking at, right? And as far as having a guy that was going to be able to roughhouse in there a little bit, in no way am I saying that AJ was soft. I'm just saying Julio was that. We had Mike Malarkey there. We had some old school guys on our team that were putting together our system and our scheme that we thought was going to be ideal. And all those other guys that were going, it was interesting because I did not think through the whole process 2 weeks out that we were really necessarily going to seal the deal. But I started talking about it and I kept revisiting. And by the way, when you're trading something like that, you are always revisiting who you're talking to just to confirm and reassure yourself that you're not waking up in the morning on draft day and you've lost that trade because it's a big deal when you've been planning on something that big.
And also, I think I've been wrong on this through the years. Like a few years ago when the Niners moved mountains to get to 3, and they sat there, they go, we don't know who we're picking yet. And then you kind of hear they were originally thinking Mac Jones that ended up being Trey Lance. And even Sean Payton at the Combine, he goes, this time last year, we didn't know we were going to take Bo Nix. So it's wild to me. You have an idea, but you don't get a lot of finality until ultimately that day, and it really goes down to the wire in some of these decision making.
To the wire, man. We were sitting there, and when that came about, it was getting closer and closer, and I thought someone is potentially going to move up. And there was banter out there that some of the big coaches were going to come up and make a move just because everyone thought so highly of those two receivers back to back. Basically, I wasn't sure. Because Patrick Peterson, did he go to? Was it Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
It was Arizona, yeah. Mm-hmm. So Keim took him at that spot. I don't know if I told you this story, but again, Arthur Blank and I were really like locked arm in arm watching it when we made the move, right? We got it. We make the move. We're watching the screens, right? And my buddy John Gruden starts showing drop after drop after drop of Julio Jones. And they never do that, right? They always show the positives. And I'm like, what is going on here? Arthur starts loosening my arm, and he drops my arm away from me. And I just look at him, though, and I quietly just say, first ballot Hall of Famer. I was justifying that, but I had some other expletives there about the way that they did it, showing all these drops. But trade day, trade time during a draft like that is high stress. There's a lot going on there, and you pray that you can check the box in the end.
It's funny. I'm laughing because it's kind of what I remember me and my buddies when we go to Vegas, and it's like we're playing roulette or blackjack, except that's the version for you in the NFL draft.
That's exactly right. And, you're talking about it, over the last 2 weeks prior to the draft, and you deliver to an owner normally. As a GM, you usually meet at the beginning of that week, and you start talking about all that's going down and scenarios that can play out. But when you get your head into that mode, you start living it. You believe that it's already done. It's a really, really interesting phenomenon. At least it was for me when I'm making big trades. And I was a trade-up guy. Again, my background wasn't trading back, so that was a little more common.
And also, when I revisit your draft history back in 2008, when it first started for you, you get Matt Ryan with the 3rd overall pick. The other quarterbacks that year, there were Joe Flacco, you had Chad Henne, Brian Brom were some of the earliest quarterbacks that did go. Matt obviously started it all. How did you guys zero in on Matt? Because, that's not the deepest draft class ever. And this year, right, it's not considered to be one of the strongest draft classes ever for quarterbacks.
Well, that's exactly right. I think we really honed in on Matt thinking that he had the full package. He wasn't great at any one thing, but he was very, very competitive. Very smart. He was very accurate in many ways, right? It wasn't about having a big gun. It was just the full package. And then when we started interviewing with him, we started realizing that he had this element to him that was pretty darn confident in a lot of ways, and we wanted to lead in. We knew that the only way we were going to have a chance at this, myself and Mike Smith at the time, remember, neophyte head coach and GM, we better kick this off with the right quarterback or we have no chance to be around here in 3 years.
How much do you tell your family in this process? And the reason I ask it is last night, Joe Shane's son on Instagram posted a highlight reel of Jackson Dart, and he had to make his account private, and then everyone's saying, oh, what does the son know? And I don't know how, the kid's like 12 or 13, but what is dad telling him? Like, naturally, you have to tell your family something, right? But how protective are you maybe in that regard?
I think you have to be protective. I think, you talk about it and you try to be, especially remember when when was it? It was in 20, we were all at home. When did we draft from home? All the
2020,
kids,
yeah.
All the kids were at home and they knew a lot more at that time. I mean, my son was literally picking up phone calls from Bill Belichick helping me run the draft during COVID. But you try to keep enough away from them, and I think it's important. But in today's social world, obviously, it becomes complicated. No question about it.
All right, we'll talk more about Sumer Sports. We'll have you stay around here for one more segment. I got much more left to do in the draft, but we got to squeeze a break in here. Thomas Dimitroff, former NFL general manager, now with Sumer Sports, here with us in studio on the Zach Gelb Show on Draft Day. Let's get the latest update in. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you could save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. After months of speculation and mock drafts, the real thing begins tonight. The first round of the 2025 NFL Draft gets underway in Green Bay. The Titans' new GM, Mike Borgonzi, is widely expected to use the first pick on Miami quarterback Cam Ward. The Browns picking second will likely go with Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. And the Colorado star said he'd like to play both ways in the NFL. Cleveland GM Andrew Berry is fine with that.
We wouldn't necessarily put a cap or a governor in terms of like what he could do. We would want to be smart in terms of how we started him out. I think I've mentioned before, we would see his first home as receiver and his second home, on the defense side of the ball.
Baseball this afternoon, a trio of games going on right now. The White Sox lead the Twins 3-0, bottom 7. Bottom 6, it's the Mariners 4, and the Red Sox 2. Rockies and Royals are even at 4 in the bottom of the 5th. Hunter Goodman with a home run for Colorado. And the Bucks have given GM John Horst a multi-year extension. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, the NFL Draft Day. This portion of the show is sponsored by Hyundai. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event is going on now. Get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. But don't wait. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. Thomas Dimitroff, the former NFL general manager, in studio with us. Now does a great job with Sumer Sports. We'll hear more about that in just a second. And Thomas kind enough to hang out with us for a second segment on Draft Day. So the leaking of information to maybe slander a prospect is always something fascinating to me, because I've had people tell me, the media makes more of a big deal and you never know where it's coming from. But, Tom Pelissero had this article that one longtime NFL assistant coach said when interacting with Shedeur Sanders in this process, the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates, but the biggest thing is he's not that good. So that was the quote. Now, it could be true, according to this anonymous NFL assistant, longtime coach, or could it be a team that is maybe trying to put something out there so they could go get a Shedeur Sanders? Like, do we make too much of that stuff? What's the truth of the leaking stuff to the media game?
No, I think the leaking happens, and I think there's always some gamesmanship, right? And the people that are in the middle of that first round are thinking, oh my God, if we could ever have an opportunity to make a decision, that would be great. At least he gets out of the top 10. I think it happens. Look, all of the stuff you're hearing about Shedeur, or some of the big ones, over the years, and look, how many times we've heard Warren Sapp talk about it when all that went down with him, and people drop, Aaron Rodgers, people drop for a reason. They all end up, to me, for the most part, I'm talking the really good ones, they all come out. In the end, everything works out. Even if it's 10 picks later, it doesn't necessarily help the whole situation. You listen to it, but everyone has opinions, right? There are some strong opinions. All of this stuff on Shedeur Sanders right now, I just think I'm a big believer whoever brings him on is going to have to be a strong, stout organization with a strong head coach and general manager and ownership who are going to be able to deal with the strength of Shedeur and co, right? That's just the way it is. So I think what happens, I said this the other day, this is not your grandfather's pick. And I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, of course, but back in the day, that was a big thing. You hire or pick a quarterback, that person has to be great in so many areas, and they can't agitate people in other areas. You know, when we picked Julio Jones way back, I said this before, Nick Saban told me he was unaffected. I think Shedeur Sanders has an unaffected side to him that can be really beneficial for certain programs or organizations. Other ones struggle with it just because it's not their makeup.
I kind of hope that he goes 21 to the Steelers. And I think it's a good landing spot for him. Mike Tomlin, strong organization. You got DK Metcalf there, maybe still George Pickens, but also the Aaron Rodgers dynamic is interesting because they're interested in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron hasn't given them an answer. And I would tend to think that would close the door on Aaron Rodgers. They draft Shedeur tonight at 21.
I would think they would. I would love to see him go there too. I just think it would be the ideal situation. And to your point, Mike Tomlin, the way he is, his intelligence, his directness, and he's probably the guy that could, talk to Dion if there's ever an issue. Hey, here's where we are and here's what we need to do. I think it's a great opportunity for Pittsburgh to take it to another level.
Do you think there's some head coaches that may just be leery of drafting Shedeur or wanting their GM to draft Shedeur because they could say, oh, the moment things don't go the right way, and let's be real, usually when you're taking a quarterback in the first round, you don't have a great team. I know the Steelers are a good team, so it doesn't apply to them, and Tomlin has a lot of security, but if you were the Browns or the Giants or the Raiders or the Saints, even if you trade back up to get him, the moment your team has a few weeks where they don't play well, people will start to speculate, hey, get this coach out and let's bring Coach Prime from Colorado to the NFL.
Wow, that's one of the things I'm sure the fan base will be swirling on, of course. But, again, I think as an ownership group, you have to know what you're going into when you're acquiring someone, like Shedeur. Again, at many levels. He has a lot of talented elements to him. I mean, let's be honest. I know you just read a quote there. There are other people that are really scrutinizing over certain things, and he's not everything for sure, but we've already said that, right? This quarterback group is not everything as it is, right?
Yeah.
There are gaps in the entire group of quarterbacks, and it wasn't like last year's quarterbacks, and that's part of it. Now, I think it's up to now the ownership, more the general manager and the head coach, to put the right team around these guys to help them develop, and that's part of their job as well, not just picking the quarterback.
Does it matter to you when you get into the whole when do you take a quarterback? Like there's some people that will say, oh, I have to build the team first before I take that quarterback. Or, hey, if the quarterback is supposed to be everything, we'll take the quarterback and then figure out everything else. Is there a right answer to that conversation?
I think it's circumstantial. And I think, where I had it when we first got into Atlanta back in 2008 was coming off the Michael Vick debacle. There was nothing more than we needed was for a quarterback to come in, step his feet on the ground and start growing with us. I can see other times when you're an organization that's in the middle, and if you as a GM and a head coach, you might be just a little bit hot seat, but not really, that you've been kind of given the assurance that you have 2 or 3 more years or 2 more years, then it's not you're not as angst-ridden to do it. But I swear to God, I continue to think you can't sit on your hands in this league. We all know it's not for long, more so than ever now. The money that's being thrown around for the coaches and the GMs, they're expected to get things done right now. You better bring a quarterback in, and you better have a great plan, and you better surround them with the right supporting cast. And I say this all the time. We were arguing about it a little bit earlier. Is it the coach or is it the quarterback? I'd like to say it's both. That's my bench-sitting deal. But, I mean, you have to have both of those on the ball.
Well, I think I'm the perfect person to ask because I grew up as a Patriot fan, and that's the conversation I despise the most. Was it more Brady? Was it more Belichick? And I say this all the time. I love Bill Belichick, and I feel terrible when I say this, but if I had to pick one or the other, I would slightly take Tom over Bill. And, I still think Bill gets a bad rap for what happened the last few years because Bill the GM was no longer a great GM. Bill the coach is still good because they had a bottom 5 roster and they made the playoffs with Mac Jones. So to me, getting the quarterback is more important than necessarily the coach.
Well, it's funny because we can go round and round about that, and I have great deal of respect for both of them.
Sure.
And I do believe that they both got to where they got to because they had
Together.
each other. And I know it went awry later on. I get it. There were waves of everything that you're talking about. I look back on our situation in Atlanta, and we did move on from another coach, from Mike Smith, who three-time coach of the year in 3 years or 5 years. That's a big deal. Bring in Dan Quinn, does a great job for us, get to the Super Bowl. We don't win the Super Bowl. And Matt Ryan continued to stay, right? So the quarterbacks do stay in an organization. But if you don't have a coach that is sound on the ground and understands his world and can lead properly.
You could derail your team.
Oh, you can derail a team, no question. And quite honestly.
Look at Chicago last year.
That's exactly right. And then those quarterbacks who might be great, they just want to get out, right? Which is another thing which can play on their mind, of course.
Talking about a guy that's had a lot of coaches the last few years, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. This, to me, Thomas Dimitroff, is fascinating. And I love Ashton Jeanty. I've been on the Ashton Jeanty train since the summer. I thought, okay, when the draft order came out, maybe he goes 12 to the Cowboys. And I said, maybe he goes 10 to the Bears. And the last few weeks, everyone's been Raiders in at 6. And then the last 24 to 48 hours, it's been, oh no, the Jaguars are going to get him with the 5th overall pick. What would your reaction be tonight if Ashton Jeanty is the 5th overall pick to the Jaguars?
Although I think you can find great running backs later in the round and even in the second, third. We've seen it over the years. He is such a special pick. He's kind of like, in my mind, the Bijan Robinson thing. I wasn't not to be overly critical of my former team, but to take a running back like that, you're not thinking about 2 and 3 and 4 contracts, right? You're thinking about the here and now. I am thinking about that for a quarterback like they have in Jacksonville, to have a situation like this with Lawrence, to have a legitimate runner like this to take the pressure off. I've experienced it. We didn't obviously do that with Michael Turner, but we had Michael Turner in there. We didn't draft Michael Turner is what I'm saying. Michael took so much pressure off of Matt Ryan back in 2008. Again, I'm being retro here talking about that, but it's pretty amazing. When you have a stud in there that is multifaceted, run and pass game, and can run over people, and he's so consistent, I would not be surprised. Maybe last year it was tough for us to talk about that, right? But we see what happens. We've seen what happened. We saw what happened in Philly with a running back that came from New York, and it obviously did unbelievable things. So I am for that move. I think there are other people out there and other players out there that can really help Jacksonville in my mind, but I wouldn't poo-poo that idea, so to speak.
And I said this to Ashton Jeanty. I remember talking to him in September, and I go, there's 3 running backs that I see in your game. I go, who are some that you modeled them afterwards? And he hit 2 out of the 3. It was Alvin Kamara. It was Marshawn Lynch. And I said, I see a little Derrick Henry, just how impossible you are to tackle. If you told me you could get a Marshawn Lynch or a Derrick Henry in this draft, I'm all good taking him with the 5th overall pick.
Yeah, and I think and then being creative on the backside again, potentially moving up, as we've talked about some of those earlier picks in the second round, to be able to combine that. I think he's top notch.
If you're drafting Travis Hunter, how do you envision him playing in the NFL?
I think he can play both, no question about it. I would play him at corner, quite honestly, because I would love him in my defensive room most of the time, learning the process, learning what we're working on, and then spot him over on the receiver side, have him run some routes. I need him, personally, I would need him in that room to be defense. Dearth of corners, bigger picture in my mind. And I think it's a lot easier to do that than play him as a receiver and put him over at corner every once in a while.
Arm length, how big of a deal is this with this Will Campbell stuff and the short arms?
Look, Will Campbell, obviously, he's a really talented player. Love his energy, everything he does. I love the fact that he can play both tackle and guard, although I think ideally he might be a better guard, although the Patriots don't want to hear that right at that high of a pick. I mean, he's aggressive. What I've always said, and we did this with another player before, his name was Sam Baker, and he had 32.5-inch arms. If you have a guy like that, you better make sure that they've known that they've had short arms for a while, and Will has, and they know how to deal with it, right? They're fast, they're creative, they're explosive with their hands. They're making up for that little bit of a half an inch with their adeptness of the use of their hands, which is really, really important. He can play, and I think he's going to be a really good football player.
All these years doing this, looking back at it, was there one story, whether it was something going on in your war room or something that was going on elsewhere in another war room or just anywhere in the draft, that's the one story that you always remember that you're like, I just can't believe what I ended up just seeing when you were sitting there taking it all in?
No, look, there are so many of those. They all just blend together in so many ways. And people often say, what was the biggest mistake you've made? And it wasn't necessarily, usually it's not the one that you did pick, although that can happen. For me, it was the one that you didn't. And I remember we sat there, and it was in my second year. We took Parade Jerry. He was an interior D lineman from Mississippi, great athlete, got hurt, just fizzled out for us. But we passed up a guy who in our room, we all talked about it, was Clay Matthews. And I forever kicked myself in the butt on that because really, and you look at it right now, the Falcons have never really had a pass rush in how long, right? Mm-hmm. Through our time there, even over the last 4 years. It's unbelievable. They need to get someone, if we're going down that line, I hope that they do pull a pass rusher this year.
I'll tell you, the one that I still can't believe was the Laramie Tunsil gas mask story, because that guy was supposed to go all the way at the top of the draft and then just fell outside of the top 10, I think to like 12 or 13 or something like that to the Dolphins.
There are those kind of things that are crazy. And you remember the Arkansas kid who passed away, was it the day after he got drafted, the offensive tackle, Bulworth. It was a really sad story. So there are all kinds of crazy stories over the years for sure. And we do call sometimes. When we call, we're calling to make sure, respectfully, that they're alive.
Wow, really?
Yes. That is one of the reasons that we call to get them on the phone. Everything good? Do you have two legs? Respectfully, of course. Mm-hmm. And you're still living. It's kind of sounds a little funny, but you don't want to draft someone. Thought of it that way. You don't want to draft someone and they're deceased, of course.
Before we let you run, Sumer Sports, we got about a minute before we have to get on out of here. Tell us everything that's cooking.
So Sumer Sports, sumersports.com, we're rolling. We're heavily into the NCAA now, along with our NFL product, but we're just doing more and more great roster building, roster management. We have more and more offerings coming every day. We're adding more and more advanced analytics along the way, honestly, with our entire group of data scientists and analysts. We have 5 former general managers, so we have a subjective side, I've told you this before, who are really working well with all of our really highly intelligent people. And I love where we're going. We just keep moving forward.
Well, unbelievable stuff. Once again, make sure you check it out, Sumer Sports. And they're going to have a live draft show tonight, I believe, on YouTube for all the first-round coverage. Is that right?
We do. We'll be covering them all. We'll be great.
All righty. We'll have to tune in. We'll have to check it out. Appreciate you coming on in, Thomas Dimitroff.
Always. I appreciate you.
All righty. We will take a time out. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Great stuff there. 2 segments with Thomas Dimitroff. Coming up next in studio, he hosts the morning show right here on the network, Maggie and Perloff. Andrew Perloff will join us in studio next. Coming on back in 5 minutes with more NFL draft talk as the first round is right here upon us.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. If Andrew Perloff was a draft prospect, we would have to maybe have him fall down a few picks. He's running a little bit late. He called Samter and he said, I may be cutting it close. He goes, I may be about 30 seconds to a minute late. Well, we are 48 seconds into this hour. And guess what? There's no signs of Perloff. I don't think Perloff has short arms, if I'm being honest. So, I don't know. Maybe he does, and he had trouble opening up the door. So, we will see if Andrew Perloff makes his way into the Infinity Sports Network studios. So this is going to be fun. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here, folks. Maybe
I heard he did very poorly on the Wonderlick.
Oh, Perloff?
Yeah.
I hate that. I think he would be the biggest Bradyac, I think, of us all. You know, I really, when he went to Dartmouth, right? So I'm just going to go out on a limb. And there he is. Play the Rocky music. This is a tradition. We have Andrew Perloff in studio. He has long arms, all right? He's not like Will Campbell. And Perloff still may have been partying a little bit from the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. What's going on?
Sorry, I'm a minute late. I got stopped by a former NFL GM in the hallway randomly.
Thomas Dimitroff? I wonder what he was doing before that.
Well, you know how Thomas likes to pick my brain. I mean,
I think he's a big fan of yours.
Is he really?
Because we sat down, he goes, oh, Perloff. And he looked at your jersey that's hanging on the wall.
Well, that explains why he said in the hallway, Perloff. Like he knew my name off the top of his head because he'd been staring at my jersey. No, he asked me for
Hold on, take a deep breath there for a second. You're like out of breath here. You good?
I ran in because I was running late.
Good 40 time.
Thomas asked for a lot of advice on analytical stuff. I don't know what to say. I mean, am I the brain behind Sumer Sports?
Could we take the paycheck? You know. So how things been? Good.
Been great. That was a joke, by the way. I don't know the first thing about analytics.
Yeah. But you went to Dartmouth. I went to Temple, so I'm assuming that you have a little bit better taste in analytics than me.
Well, you have more likely chance to get on Matt Rule's staff than mine, though.
Yeah, that's probably a good chance, I would imagine.
He likes analytics, doesn't he?
We haven't really gone that far down that rabbit hole in terms of how much analytics he uses and not. No.
I know he does. He's embraced it. I think everybody's embraced it.
Okay, I would have to. Right? Don't you have to adapt or die pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, my Eagles, they have a huge analytics department. Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost one of the biggest football departments they have.
Which is funny because Sirianni the personality of him would not suggest that he would be an analytics guy, but the Eagles are Mr. Analytics.
I know Alec Hallaby and the whole team, and it works. I mean, they won the Super Bowl.
Alrighty, let's start off with this draft stuff. Your quarterback rankings. How do you rank the first 3 quarterbacks in this draft right now?
Where they'll go, or what I think of them as quality?
What do you think of them as quality?
Okay, I have number 1, Cam Ward. Number 2, Jalen Milroe.
Ooh.
Quiet. Number 3, Shedeur Sanders. Number 4, Jackson Dart. Number 5, Tyler Shuck.
Okay. Mine is 1, Cam Ward. 2, Shedeur Sanders. 3, I did go Jalen Milroe. And then in at 4, I had Dylan Gabriel. And 5, Jackson Dart. That's what I ended up doing.
Can I shake your hand?
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to squeeze Dylan Gabriel in there, but I was afraid that Shuck's going to get drafted so much higher. Although the odds are improving on Gabriel to go in the second round. It's still a long shot. I love Gabriel.
And to be clear, that's not how I project them necessarily to go. I think Gabriel could go in the 4th round potentially, but he was a guy that at the Heisman, some people were like, he could be a late 1st round, early 2nd round. I know Orlovsky, when I tweeted out there, he goes, I couldn't agree more. And no one talks about him now in this draft process. He's shorter, obviously, but everywhere he's gone from Oklahoma, even before that UCF and Oregon, the guy put up good numbers.
Yeah, and to me, the funny thing is the ball pops off his hand. Maybe it's because he's a lefty. It has a different perception. I watched him at the Combine. And I said, wow, he's really getting it out there. And then I saw reviews, and it said medium arm. I think he's got a good arm, not Patrick Mahomes. I think he's got a good arm. You saw it on the field. He could make any throw. It's the height.
But you know what? The Mahomes and Josh Allen have messed up the entire way that people evaluate quarterbacks, because there's usually a guy, maybe not this year, I haven't heard it yet, where people go, if he could be 40% of Patrick Mahomes, that's why you're going to take him. And Josh Allen has kind of become that, like I've said, like about Jalen Milroe, right? We know he could run north and south. You know that he has a big arm, but the question is, can he put all that stuff together? It worked, obviously, for Josh Allen, but then a guy like Anthony Richardson, it clearly has not worked so
Absolutely.
far.
So Milroe had a good grade on long throws. He throws a beautiful long
pass. He's got a bazooka.
It's intermediate. We know that. He's very inaccurate. Can you fix that? If you're a coach, you look at the traits and you say, I can coach that. Now, you're right. It hasn't worked with Anthony Richardson, but you know how young he is? He's 22. He'd be one of the youngest quarterbacks in this draft. And he's already been in the pros for 2 years. Is that fair? Also, Milroe's played a lot more games than Richardson coming in. So I think Milroe, because of the running ability, you could buy him time to learn the NFL game. So I would be thrilled to get him in the second round because you can use him in some packages as a runner. He probably runs a 4.40, and you could groom him to be a better quarterback. I think he could be something within 2 years.
What do you think the ceiling is for Cam Ward? Because he's been the number 1 quarterback, but then people, they kind of then give him like a backhanded compliment where they go, he's number 1 quarterback this year, but if it was last year, he'd be like 4 or 5 or maybe even 6.
So ceiling is not the guy who stylistically he reminds me of is Patrick Mahomes. Arm angles, moving around in the pocket. At Miami, he was Mahomes. He just run around and do whatever he wanted because he was in college and he was better than everyone on the field. There's no way that is the comp, though. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to go very good.
Just ruined our Twitter algorithm. We were ready to have you trending on Twitter. Perloff compares Cam Ward to Patrick Mahomes.
The comparison's been made. He looks like his style. I would say the ultimate upside is somewhere within 5 to 12. Name and name. He's not going to be good as Stafford at his peak. He could be better than like a mobile Jared Goff.
Okay.
And that's good enough. How many quarterbacks can win the Super Bowl in the NFL?
Right now, I would say maybe there's 5 that we can name.
No. It's a much bigger number to me.
Really?
Because I didn't have Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback.
Okay, so Mahomes, obviously, yes.
Yes.
Josh Allen, yes.
Yes.
Joe Burrow, yes. Lamar Jackson, yes. Jalen Hurts, yes.
Brock Purdy. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
He got to overtime against the Chiefs.
Yeah, but now that team is worse off because they're going to have to give him a big fat contract.
Matthew Stafford.
Oh, yeah, Stafford obviously has already done it.
I think Jaden Daniels.
Okay, sure. Stroud.
Would you say Jared Goff could theoretically win a Super Bowl? That's my point. It's not that they're so good, but if you have them on your team, you could be good enough to win the Super Bowl.
People in Detroit aren't going to like this. I saw what Goff did up against my team in the Super Bowl. They should have won that Super Bowl with the Rams. And the Lions, they had that big lead in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. And this year, I know it happens, right? You have the bye, and then a team comes in there and they upset you. I think there's a limitation. There's a Detroit curse, and then there's a limitation on Jared Goff a little bit.
You know, as long as you're playing this game, what about Trevor Lawrence or a pure developmental guy? No. You never see it. I'm kind of with you. Jordan Love, I see it with Jordan Love, possibly.
I got to see more out of Jordan Love. Because Jordan Love had a really good, strong half, a second half of his first season as a starter. Last year, it's tough for me to grade it because they didn't really improve as a football team, but there's no great wide receiver there. That, to me, I think they need to go get a number 1 bona fide star wide receiver there in Green Bay. This is not Aaron Rodgers where you could just, patch it together and then eventually you luck into Devontae Adams.
I've been watching this George Pickens to Green Bay rumor today. I have trouble seeing them pull off that trade.
Also, George Pickens,
no.
This dude thinks he's Jerry Rice. He's very good. I think the best thing for George Pickens would be staying in Pittsburgh this year. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Shedeur Sanders, we'll have to see. You got DK Metcalf, so teams are going to target DK Metcalf first. It's going to open up the field for you. If you could just be okay with the few games where you're not necessarily being the number 1 wide receiver, most of those games, because now you got DK Metcalf, I think that's a good spot for him right now.
Ooh, I have trouble seeing that. He's so duplicative. You can't have 2 guys running those deep routes. You got to they need an Emeka Egbuka. They need somebody over the middle, a slot guy, or an inside guy. I would love to see them draft that guy tonight or tomorrow or Friday night because I don't think Pickens helps Metcalf. I just don't see it.
It's funny you bring up the Steelers and you talk about them adding a wide receiver. I have like a spicy kind of take tonight.
Ooh, give it to me.
The Bengals, right, you would anticipate, they're going to draft someone on the defensive side of the ball, right?
Yeah, their defense was terrible.
That was brutal. You had Burrow, who led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns, Jamar Chase, who won the Triple Crown, and then Trey Hendrickson, who led the league in sacks. But outside of him, there's not a great defensive player on that team. Everyone's thinking defense. Imagine if they just go wide receiver.
Oh, get out of here.
Could you imagine if they get Egbuka? Imagine if they go get the speedster from Texas and you have the Golden, you have the 3 wide receivers, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and then a Golden or Egbuka. It would be awesome.
What are you, a 12-year-old building a Madden team? You're not drafting a wide. Yes, you are. I know.
I'll outscore everybody.
Oh, that would be the most lambasted pick of the night. You cannot possibly, first of all, add a pass rusher because you don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson. And you have to start building your trenches out again. Come on, Joe Burrow. That's the thing. You're paying Joe Burrow $55 million so he can make your receivers great. You're not drafting every first. I love your thought process.
It's fun.
And I'm right there with you. How about a tight end for them maybe? Because it is a good tight end class.
Yeah, but you know what? The tight ends in this draft class, I love Tyler Warren.
Wait, people are going nuts for these tight ends.
I love Tyler Warren.
Yes.
Colston Loveland, I don't think anyone has watched more Michigan football the last few years than me. And I understand they didn't always have the strongest quarterback room, and it was built off running the football and big offensive line. Colston Loveland's good. If he goes at 10 to the Bears or 14 to the Colts, I think that's a little bit early, if I'm just being honest.
I've seen mock drafts where the Colts have to trade up to get Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
One thing I heard today that I didn't even realize that he actually weighs more than Ty Warren. Is that possible? Because I think Warren is a
huge
beast.
Yeah.
Loveland, I think,
like
has
a
more.
Rugby player.
Yeah, I think Loveland has more size than we realize. That they're both kind of tall and kind of big. So I think it's the Brock Bowers effect. Everyone saw Brock Bowers come in, and they say the quarterback in Michigan, especially last year, was the problem. I get it.
Which is funny because when I saw Brock Bowers at the Super Bowl at Radio Row, I go, who the heck is this? And I watched so much Georgia.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers, great. And I saw the Super Bowl. I go, well, I'm not drafting him.
No, me too. Me too.
I think I actually said that to you. I go, who is this guy? He looks like he's like a huge UPS driver or something like that. Because he's wearing like these cargo shorts and all that. And he ended up having arguably the greatest tight end season we've ever seen from a rookie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at this class, so for Cincinnati, for example, it's not a great receiver class. The Packers, there's rumors that Tedero and McMillan could fall all the way to them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you go high as 5. I mean, you saw him play in college. He was really, really good.
I think the Cowboys, if he's there at 12, should take him. You put him next to CeeDee Lamb and you have something for Dak Prescott. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
But you know the Cowboys are going to be boring tonight.
I don't understand what they're doing anymore. Now, I'm past the point of actually evaluating the Cowboys off wins and losses because their whole formula is just stir up the most amount of drama. But last year they were all in, right? They said they were all in, they did nothing. This year they said they were going to be selectively aggressive. What, their biggest offseason move was re-signing their own defensive lineman to an $80 million contract?
Yeah, not the one that everyone's watching either, not Micah Parsons.
Yeah, that as well. And then they go, oh, yeah, we've been aggressive this offseason. The other day when Stephen Jones is talking, honestly, I would let remember the grandson who supposedly gave the AOK on CeeDee Lamb a few years ago? I would just let the grandson do the drafting.
Yeah.
It's been crazy in Dallas.
You have Joe Shane's kid running the show in New York and the grandson in Dallas. It looks like a lot of people think they're going to go guard. So that would be tackle, guard, the last 3 drafts because Zach Barnes retired.
That's also the big misnomer, too.
Yeah.
The last few years, the Cowboys' offensive line has not been strong, but because they were so good for a decade on the offensive line, everyone's still programmed to say the Cowboys have this wonderful offense.
But they keep drafting there when they need a wide receiver, too, so desperately. I'm an Eagles fan. I watch them. All you have to do is focus on CeeDee Lamb, and you're fine. They need someone to scare someone. I would love for them to go Golden. I would love for them to go Ted McMillan or trade. Make a trade. I hate to say it. That's one team. Bring in Tyreek Hill. Just do something. Otherwise, you're just going to be average next year.
Do you agree that the first 4 picks it's chalk, it's Cam Ward, it's Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Will Campbell?
I do agree, although there is... these insiders are stirring it up that Cleveland's still taking phone calls. I think that's insane.
Does anyone actually... I love Peter Schrager.
Yeah.
When he said that the other day about the Browns and the Giants, I don't buy it.
It came up on ESPN again today. A bunch of other reporters are saying that there's still calls going on. I don't know why the Browns are putting that out there. I think they should run to the podium for Travis Hunter.
Well, put it this way. If you're Andrew Berry, who's on the hot seat, and Joe Shane, who's on the hot seat, I've said this for months that if I'm them, I'm trying to keep my job. I'm drafting the quarterback. It could maybe buy me another year.
Right.
But if you're not taking a quarterback at 2 or 3, you then have to take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, who are all perceived to be the 2 best players in this draft.
Oh, well, and for this particular team, you have to take Hunter because what other team needs offense and defense and get it all in one player? Also, Abdul Carter's great. Big fan. He doesn't change the whole storyline. Because the Browns have the Deshaun Watson mess, they need a new story. They need something to watch. I think I'll watch the Browns to see Travis Hunter play both ways. I'll watch every game.
And then we had Joe Thomas on yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said to him, because he wanted Travis Hunter at 2.
Yeah.
And then I go, how about trading up for a quarterback and getting Shedeur? And he said that would be the equivalence of them winning the Super Bowl in Cleveland if you get both of them.
Yeah, teammates.
Are you down on Shedeur? Because you put him at 3. What's
No.
your view of him?
I think he's a really good quarterback. I think the extra stuff is the problem. And I don't think it's his personality. I think it's his dad. I fully subscribe to this issue. He's never been coached by anyone else. So you have no idea what it's...
Why should that matter?
Because the other thing, coaches hate parents. I don't care what they say. Every coach I've ever talked to, they abhor hearing from parents. And you are going to hear from Shedeur's dad. So... And should that matter? No, of course it should matter. Does it matter? This is the NFL. You think that these people do not want to hear from parents, and they don't care what's fair. It's not about, yes, it's unfair to Shedeur. Yeah, maybe so. But if you're Kellen Moore in New Orleans, do you really want to pick up the phone in week 3 and say, hey, Derek Carr looks bad. Why don't you put in Shedeur?
Where's Shedeur Sanders landing tonight?
Well, I still have a hunch it could be Pittsburgh at 21. I would say, just reading the tea leaves, it's about a coin toss, whether they take him or not. I think they desperately need some run stoppers after what happened in the playoffs in Baltimore. If not, it's Pittsburgh at 21 or second round. I saw he's a minus number for second round now. So I would say 21 or 33 to Cleveland.
Wow. Could you imagine if we talked about this guy for a month and a half, potentially being the second or third overall pick? Imagine the world where he falls out of the first round entirety. I do think he's going to Pittsburgh, which then makes all of our shows. Shedeur's the number one story tomorrow, whether he goes in the first round or if he's still available in the second round. But then if he does go to Pittsburgh, I'm not bringing in Aaron Rodgers. If I'm the Steelers, that's it.
You're not trading for Kirk Cousins. Cousins won't go there anyway. He has a no trade clause. We had Diana Rossini on today. She said that the word is the Steelers are trying to trade out, which actually makes some sense. Maybe they think they can get him lower at the end of the first round. Be someone would trade up for, I don't know, a tight end. I don't even know why someone. The other thing she said is that Cleveland loves Tyler Shuck. So do with that what you will.
Let me
Zach.
tell you, if Tyler Shuck goes in the first round tonight, I think I'm done with the draft.
Just done.
Who talked about this guy at the end of the college football season?
Well, I did. Don't you remember in 2018 when we were watching him at Oregon, when I called you, I said, this kid give him 6-7 years of marriage. No, it's the craziest story. He's been in our lives forever.
Yeah, he's like
he was at the Elite 11.
He makes Perry Ellis look young.
Yeah, he was
if we're being honest.
He was at the Elite 11 with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He was a big prospect who disappointed, and he never blew me away. He was good.
So these are the two guys I just don't understand.
Okay.
Shuck, and then also Jackson Dart. To me, when Jackson Dart had that moment at the end of the year up against Florida, I was done. I never thought very highly of Jackson Dart. To me, he's more of a product of a system of Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
Lane Kiffin gets all these guys that they produce. Now people are telling me Jackson Dart, right? McShay, I like McShay. Oh, but if the Saints take a quarterback at 9, it's Jackson Dart. It's not Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
If that happens, that will also be the end of me with this draft.
Multiple reports the Saints like him either at 9 or to trade up in the first round. Makes no sense to me. Does he have a big arm? No. Is he a great runner? No, he's a good runner. You know, who does he remind you of? Matt Corral. I was so into Matt.
That's a great comment.
Except I think, honestly, Matt Corral physically was a little better than he is. He had a cannon. He just couldn't get it together. But it was clearly a product of the offense. Jackson Dart is that to me. I don't get it all. If the Giants take him, I know there are a lot of Peter Schrager, for example, has the Giants trading to 26 again.
And the Sun was, but you said it. The Sun was posted about it last night.
Yeah, and the Eli to Ole Miss connection, and Charlie Weiss Jr., I believe, is very good friends with Brian Dable. So it feels like that's a Giants using their relationships to make a pick. And that is not what the Giants should be doing. Oh, Joe Judge is connected to Ole Miss too, and Joe Judge has a lot of friends in the building. Yeah. That's what I heard. This is what we're talking about right now. The Giants have all these friends who love Jackson Dart. So now a lot of mock drafters have them taking Jackson Dart. I think that's not the guy they want. I think they need a quarterback. I would go for a little more upside than Jackson Dart.
He's Andrew Perloff. You can listen to him in the mornings. Maggie and Perloff right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's take a break. We'll come on back. More with Perloff after these short messages. You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
This NFL Draft Preview is sponsored by Ego, tools that deliver or exceed the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, and fumes. For any outdoor challenge, count on Ego, tools to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. Ego, power beyond belief. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. I guess now a yearly tradition because we've done this back-to-back years, or maybe even more than that, where we're doing the draft shows together. So
yeah, no,
I think I've talked to you. When did you get here again to the network?
Let's see. It was the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl was my first 3 weeks on the show.
Oh, really?
So that was 2021 or 2022.
Yeah, one of those. But I think we've talked every year since, and especially on the draft.
Remember we did that in Detroit. We had such a good time that night when the picks were coming in. And JR, it's always fun to react. Kansas City. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Kansas City.
I thought you were making a joke because we didn't go to Detroit.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I got taking a shot at management.
No. I got my Midwestern cities mixed up.
If management's listening, just know that was Perloff taking the shot at you guys, not me. So I'll take more money on my next contract.
Get out of here. What the funny thing was, what's your plan for tonight? Are you going to live tweet like crazy? That's my favorite. I'm getting on the couch. I'm ordering food.
Yeah.
And I am just ripping everybody. I am so ready to go.
I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm hoping that my Patriots with the fourth over. Who do you think I want, by the way?
Well, okay. So you can't trade up? Is a trade part of this?
So full disclosure, no. I want Abdul Carter.
Of course.
I know I'm not getting Abdul Carter anymore.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not getting Travis Hunter. So let's say first pick is Cam Ward. Second pick is Travis Hunter. Third pick is Abdul Carter. What do you think I want with the fourth
So,
overall pick?
based on the question, I don't think you want chalk, which is Will Campbell, the LSU left tackle. So, the next couple prospects would be, I think you want Ashton Jeanty then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Up until yesterday, I would have said Will Campbell, and I'm fine if they take Will Campbell.
Right.
Even if he ends up being a left guard, fine by me. If this guy could go play 8 to 10 years in the NFL, and I could have 1/5 of my offensive line figured out, and the Patriots' offensive line stinks, I'm good to go. But I was talking to Fitzy up in Boston, WEI, who's on their afternoon show the other day, and we did our mock draft yesterday, and he took Ashton Jeanty fourth, and when he said that, a light bulb went off in my head because Mike Vrabel, when he was successful as an NFL head coach, had Derrick Henry. And his quarterback was Ryan Tannehill. Let's be real, is like average quarterback in the NFL. Drake May clearly has star potential. And Ashton Jeanty would give them a legit weapon on that offensive side of the ball and protect Drake May too.
Absolutely. Any young quarterback or any quarterback, even Geno Smith with Vegas, you want him in 2nd and 4 and 3rd and 2. You do not want those guys in 3rd and 9. So if you could get your running game going, it'll change Drake May completely.
Now, I think at your show and our show, we have a very healthy relationship.
Yes,
there have been times where I will throw a lot of shots, right, with other shows, and sometimes they don't take it that well, or sometimes they do. We've always had a very good relationship. You and I, Maggie and I, EJ. Manny's kind of a pain in the ass, if I'm being
that's
honest.
a given.
That guy's a fraud, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
He sits there on social media. Oh, the Mets fans are so insufferable, and then all this guy does is talk about the Mets. So I like Manny. Manny, the sports fan, I despise.
But Manny is a hysterical trash talker. His Twitter feed cracks me up. He gets so mad.
He's average. He's like the Ryan Tannehill of social media.
No. I'm actually, the funny thing is Manny's personality does not fit his social media feed at all. He's so laid back.
He's so dramatic. You know who Manny reminds me of on social media? Remember the person that was like, leave Britney alone and crying?
Yeah.
That's Manny about every sports subject. It's woe is me.
Yeah. He comes in the morning and he's a totally different person.
Grumpy son of a bitch. That's what he is.
Manny? Oh my gosh.
He's grumpy.
No way.
Yeah.
We have an assignment at the show. He's single. We've been looking for a girlfriend.
Oh, for Manny?
Yeah.
Well, we could put some flyers out there. See if any takers are.
Manny's a good dude. No, I understand your hatred. I mean, first of all, I hate all Knicks fans and I hate all Mets fans. So,
and you still come in studio with us?
Wait, but you were getting? I think were you setting up to rip our show or get into something?
No.
Okay.
I heard a little scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
That Maggie has a spicy Raiders take here.
No,
that
it's not a
Stu
take.
may not like.
No, it's not even. I want to hear Stu's opinion and your opinion because it's relevant to your team as well.
Because I know Maggie always likes to punch down on Stu. I hear.
Maggie loves Stu more than anyone loves anyone in this building. It's almost unusual, but it's like more of like a mother-son relationship. No offense, Stu, but is that fair to say?
I would say so. That's fine.
I do think Maggie is like the mother here at the network.
I don't think she would like that characterization.
They said mother and son with Stu. How is that bad?
That's because Stu's 12 years old. I mean, look at Stu.
Times 3, but
Stu's
okay.
older than me. No, I'm just saying, she is the voice of reason, the professional person here at the network.
The fight is Maggie thinks Tom Brady is absolutely running the show in every aspect, that he is staying up till 4 a.m. watching guard tape from North Dakota State, and he is making this pick, and he is making his full imprint. And I say, that can't be true because A, he's on Fox, B, they have a GM, they have a very, very influential head coach in Pete Carroll, and they have all Pete Carroll's people. I don't think it's a Brady show. That's a debate. It's nothing. There's no hot take about it. I really don't think that Tom Brady is going to be able to redefine what the Raiders are.
You know, it's funny because I just said Maggie is the mother of the Infinity Sports Network. Brady would be, if that's the case, he would be the helicopter parent. I think he's giving advice, but he's not being a helicopter parent here, and he's letting John Spytek and Pete Carroll run the show. Because if Brady was running the show, they're taking Shedeur Sanders. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Brady and Shedeur are very close.
Well, Maggie said, she's like, well, they're thinking outside the box. You know, unlike the Raiders making a splash move, they're going to take a left tackle. She's like, that's pure Brady. I'm like, how is that pure Brady? What does that even mean? The Patriots never took a left tackle. They took like Nate Solder. That was about it.
Yeah,
they never drafted that position. I don't know what that means. That's what every other team would do. And they said Geno Smith. What was outside the box with that?
That was Pete Carroll.
It's PK. That's
I
why
think there was some tampering that happened there because it looked like there was a deal that was going to get done with Seattle, and then everyone got ghosted there, and Gino winds up in Las Vegas.
By the way, what a funny spot for the Raiders at 6 because it's been Ashton Jeanty from day one.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. So we talked about chalk going 4. I think the draft starts at 5. For the last few weeks, it was Mason Graham in at 5.
Yep.
And now it seems like Mason Graham is falling, and Ashton Jeanty is going from the Raiders at 6 to the Jaguars at 5.
Right, unless the Bears can trade up. So it looks like Ashton Jeanty 5. There's like persistent rumor that Ted McMillan is in play for the Jags. They really want a playmaker.
A lot of people do the Mike Evans comp to Ted McMillan, and McMillan's new coach is Liam Cohen, and Jacksonville is coming over from Tampa Bay. I guess that's the connection.
Yeah, but maybe they trade with Chicago and get him a little lower. So I think you're chalk there. Then I think you start getting into the non-skill position players. Then it's 6 left tackle, but whether it's Banks, Membu, whoever's left over from the Patriots. Then I think you're going to see the Jets. I wouldn't be surprised if they went O-line. Then Carolina goes Jalen Walker. I think you're going to get a lot of those positions. Is that how you see it?
I would say right now, 1, Cam Ward, 2, Travis Hunter, 3, Abdul Carter, 4, Will Campbell, 5, Jeanty, 6, I would go Raiders Membu, 7, Jets Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Would you be shocked if they went O-line, though?
No.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Yeah.
I wouldn't. 8, I would say Mason Graham to the Carolina Panthers. I think a lot of people say Walker because they don't think Graham's going to be available. Personally, I think Mason Graham's the 3rd best player in this draft.
Oh, I love him. I love watching him. That's a guy, he reminds me of Ndamukong Suh and Gerald McCoy in college. Like, he'd blow up everything.
He had the most impressive performance I saw in college this year when he just single-handedly impacted that Ohio State team. Michigan didn't even know what the forward pass was last year, and that defense was so good up against that highly talented Ohio State offense, obviously. It was phenomenal.
Totally with you. Then what's 9? We got Saints. Saints probably O-line or something unsexy.
I'm thinking Mykel Williams
out
of Georgia.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think the Saints have so many holes. They're fine at tackle right now. I kind of like Will Johnson in that spot, but he is completely full. He could go to Detroit at the end of the first round.
Medicals didn't run, so people think he's slow. And it's got to be, I think it was Diana who told us today that he has to be in zone, can't play man. So he is definitely falling. I saw Daniel Jeremiah didn't have him in the first round of his mock draft, so there's something going on there.
So is there a team, is there one player that you're like, okay, I definitely want to see that player go to that team, even if it's not that realistic right now?
I'll tell you my favorite players. Well, Travis Hunter is, I think, I'd love to see him in Cleveland. I really want to see Egbuka specifically in Pittsburgh. I feel like that is perfect. I'm a big fan of his personality. Jalen Milroe, I really want to see him become a Lamar Jackson type. Young Lamar Jackson. I think he could light the league on fire with his feet. Now, the arm is a long way away. If I would love to see the Giants take him at 34. I don't think it's going to happen. Or the Saints take him at 40. That'd be interesting to me too. But the best fit for him would be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs a running quarterback. They don't need Shedeur Sanders. That's why I don't like this fit. It's an outside. Put Shedeur in a dome where he can throw the ball 40 times a game and distribute it. He's a distributor. Pittsburgh needs a big Ben, a big guy. And Milroe's so strong. I could see Arthur Smith just finding a run game somewhere and just controlling the football in the AFC North. I feel like that would be a great fit.
If that happens, that the Steelers end up going Milroe over Shedeur Sanders, and to be clear, I think Shedeur's the second best quarterback in this draft class, then I would hope Shedeur lands with the LA Rams. That'd be great. With McVay, you have him sit there for a year. Stafford plays one more season. And you hand the baton over while having Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams on that team.
But we're talking second round at this point. I don't think Pittsburgh's taking Milroe at 21. I'm saying they're getting later on. Yeah, and Shedeur, if Pittsburgh doesn't take Shedeur at 21, they might have another bite at him later on.
How many quarterbacks do you think go in the first round?
I think 2.
So no, wow.
I think 2.
I think the over-under's right to me is 2.5.
I can't tell you which 2. I think it's going to be definitely Cam Ward, obviously. Then I think it's either Dart or Shedeur. And then I think you get there's some interesting stats. I didn't even think about it. You don't draft quarterbacks in the second round. It's just something that never, ever happens. I think there's only been one to go with the first pick in the second round, and that's Drew Brees. You generally don't want them in that second round where you're not sure if they're a starter or not. So they all go in the third round.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Your quarterback, Jalen Hurts, won in the second round.
Jalen Hurts, Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick. There are few, but the numbers, I think 3 times as many more go in the third round. It's an odd spot for a quarterback.
What time do you have to do TV? You have a big TV appearance today?
Oh, and no big thing. I have a 5 o'clock spot. New York 1, Spectrum News. Get syndicated around the country.
Are you doing that from here?
No, I have to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to say.
Oh, yeah, I got a boogie.
That's fine. It's fine
yeah.
by me. Give me one more take before we let you run.
Okay.
So you want Jalen Milroe to the Steelers. So what is your – let's say Shedeur doesn't go to the Steelers.
Okay.
Give me that. Shedeur doesn't go to the Steelers. Then where does Shedeur go?
I got Shedeur. I'll go Cleveland in the second round. One more take, by the way. You know who I love? Travion Henderson. To a team like the Commanders who can use him in the screen pass game. I mean, come on. That would be sick.
What was the viral take that you had through the draft that every year pops up on Full Take Exposed?
Oh, I mean, the obvious one. Panthers taking Luke Kuechly was a massive mistake. An off-ball linebacker at top 10? No, I don't think so, Zach.
So then what do you think your take is right now that could be the coldest a few years from now?
Oh, I have this take that Jalen Milroe and Cam Ward will be the only 2 quarterbacks taken in the first round. So then if Jalen Milroe goes to the third round, then that will not work out.
Maybe it turns out to be like Will Levis or something like that.
Yeah, no, but it's funny that he's there. If you were his agent, would you let him go there? Nicole Lynn. Jalen Milroe, 2 in Green Bay. I mean, he's in the green room.
Oh, you know what? I actually like it because even you're in the news anyway.
Yeah.
So I think he's such a good person, good attitude, that I have no problem if I end up sitting there and I don't go in the first round and then showing up tomorrow with a big smile on your face as you walk across the stage.
Ooh,
I don't have a problem with it.
Ooh.
Why, you don't like this?
I don't like it. I think that's a little embarrassing for a quarterback. Not another position, but I think that's tough. He's going to be on camera a lot and won't look good.
Eagles, quick 30-second thought on this?
You know, for me, it's obvious you go Mason Taylor tight end, or some tight end, because
Goddard's going to get
Goddard's on his way out. But Howie will always go line, and he'll probably try and trade too.
You know what I think the dream would be?
What's that?
Malachi Starks ends up there.
Yeah, not
Georgia
happening.
Player.
Not
Don't
happening.
Think he's falling that far?
Oh, no. There's a bunch of teams who reportedly like him in the 20s.
Okay. He's Andrew Perloff from Maggie and Perloff right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Another year of tradition unlike any other. I sound like I'm Jim Nantz. The day of the draft, Andrew Perloff in studio for 2 segments before he then goes rubs elbows with some big TV folks that aren't us.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to wear makeup for you, but
Please don't.
Yeah, I knew you would. Like, if I show up in makeup, you might just tell me to leave.
Yeah. And you can obviously listen to a full first-round draft recap tomorrow from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern time right here on many of these same Infinity Sports Network stations. Let's get the update in. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, these next few days are ones in which franchises can be made or broken. The NFL draft opens tonight in Green Bay, and it seems pretty predictable for the top 3. Beyond that is where it gets very interesting. The Titans, barring an unforeseen change, will select Miami quarterback Cam Ward to start off the night, followed by Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, expected to go to the Browns at number 2. The Giants at 3 could throw a wrench into everything. All things point to them taking Penn State's Abdul Carter. However, they do need a quarterback for the future, but GM Joe Shane said they are not going to reach for one.
Not going to force it if it's not the right value. If the board lines up when we're on the clock and that's the position that we want to go with, we'll go with it. But not going to be backed into a corner on that. I don't think that's mandatory or something that we're our feet to the fire and we have to do.
Baseball today. Right now, the White Sox and Twins being delayed by rain in the 8th, with Chicago in front 3-0. The Brewers and Giants are even at 2 in the bottom of the 3rd. Mike Yastrzemski with a home run. The Royals defeated the Rockies 7-4, while the Mariners edged the Red Sox 4-3. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. 'Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage, no medical exams, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. I think we have some audio for you right now. One is from Aditi Kinkobwale. I believe I said that name correctly. She's a tremendous reporter. Usually does a bunch of work covering the entire AFC North for the NFL Network. She has a report on Shedeur Sanders, but also we have something from Diana Rossini. Now, let me do the Diana Rossini one first. There's no sound with Diana Rossini, correct? It's just the Aditi one is with sound. Yeah, that's what I thought. So Diana Rossini, this was the latest tweet. You know how much more I like Diana Rossini when there's nothing with Chase Daniel associated with it? I'm being serious.
We should have Chase on the show.
Huh? What? It's like no way. Can't believe it. Sounds like Stu on a Saturday night. Hours away. This is Diana Rossini. Hours away from the start of the first round, Browns GM Andrew Berry has been actively listening to offers for the number 2 overall pick, and many believe he will move a few spots back. Cleveland has holes to fill and have just 4 top 100 picks to address them. Buying.
Huh?
Buying or selling. Stu, that the Browns are going to move off the number 2 overall pick.
I do not think they're going to trade it.
Samter, buying or selling?
Selling. I don't think that there's a guy that people want to move up so desperately for, and if you're the Browns, it feels like Travis Hunter's kind of like the perfect fit.
You have this report, you better be right. That's what I'm going to say. You can't put this out there and then come on out tomorrow and be like, oh, it was close, but ultimately they didn't want to refuse the idea of drafting and pass up on drafting Travis Hunter. Because your report, Diana Rossini, is this. I'm selling, by the way. So if this ends up being one of those game day graphics where it's like, the matchup is Alabama and Ole Miss, and Stu's Alabama, and Samter's Alabama, and I'm Alabama, and Ole Miss wins, I'm okay with having egg on my face. But when you tweet out, hours away from the start of the first round, Browns GM Andrew Berry has been actively listening to offers for the number 2 overall pick, and many believe he will move a few spots back. Cleveland has holes to fill and just have only 4 top 100 picks to address them. You're pretty much telling me they're moving back, right? Is that the way that you interpret it? Now, there's a little bit of loosey-goosiness here where it's like, oh, he's actively listening to offers. But when you say many believe he will move back a few spots, you're a big-time NFL reporter. You better be right on that. Like, I'm put it this way. If I was an NFL insider, which I'm not, right? Like, sometimes we get told things as talk show hosts, and you say it on the radio, but I'm not an NFL insider. That's like Schefter, that's Rossini, that's Ian Rappaport, that's Tom Pelissero, that's our Starbucks guy, and Jordan Schultz, a little punch and stuff like that. Jay Glazer. You know who these insiders are. You have something like that out there, you better be right on that. And right now, Samter, I just do not think that the Browns are trading off on number 2. I would be very surprised.
Because in order for you to move back, unless you're going back like 1 or 2 spots because you just don't love any of those guys, like you need like a huge offer. And there's like,
but you still better get Travis Hunter, and I don't think you will.
Well, and that's the thing is maybe they're just not 100% sold on taking Hunter or Carter.
Here's my thing. Andrew Berry and Joe Shane have the most to gain and the most to lose tonight. It is so simple. If you just get Travis Hunter, if you just get Abdul Carter, nice moves. Very nice moves. They're the 2 best players in the draft. But it doesn't guarantee that you're going to keep your job. It doesn't give you a better chance of keeping your job. So if Andrew Berry or Joe Shane could then go get a quarterback in the first round, I'm not saying it guarantees you keep your job, but it improves your chances because at least you called a shot at the quarterback position that will actually excite some folks. So that's why I think it's so important. But then if you say, I'm going to pass a quarterback at 2 or 3, and then let's say this is true, that they move back and they don't get Carter or Hunter, what the heck are you doing in Cleveland? All righty, let's get to the Aditi sound. This is Aditi Kinkowale. Is this on the NFL Network? Or,
CBS Sports.
Oh, CBS Sports, that's right. She now works at CBS Sports. She has some news on potentially Shedeur Sanders. Listen up.
Now, I've been told that I should not be surprised if Shedeur Sanders drops out of the first round. The last few weeks, I've had very strong feelings that Mike Tomlin would certainly be interested in taking Shedeur Sanders. He didn't dissuade anybody when he spoke about him at length this week, which is unusual for Tomlin to talk so much about a draft pick. But there is a good chance that Steelers owner and president Art Rooney steps in and says that's not the necessary pick. This team really needs a defensive tackle.
I would let Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin make that pick. That's what I would do. But could we agree here? Are these the only 5 teams that we think are going to draft Shedeur at some point? Like tonight? I'm not saying where they currently are, but maybe coming back up in the first round. Or like this, if there's one team drafting Shedeur where they're currently situated, we'd all agree it's the Steelers right now. I look at the Raiders, the Saints, the Giants, and the Browns. One of those teams moving back up who all have another pick inside the top 40 after their first round selection. One of those teams would have to move back up to get Shedeur Sanders. If not, I said this to Perloff, maybe it could be the Rams. And maybe the Rams are like, we're good, less need Sean McVay, let's rock and roll. And Matthew Stafford play one more year with all that speculation. That would really suck if he falls out of the first round. Is there a possibility that one quarterback goes tonight? Because if Shedeur doesn't go in the first round, then none of these other quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward should then go in the first round. That's just the way that I think of it. And I don't think Jackson Dart should go in the first round. And if you tell me 3 go in the first round, like I've been saying, my 3, and I wouldn't feel great about this, but my 3 would be Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and also Jalen Milroe as well. All righty, let's do this. We'll take a break right now. We'll come on back. We're going to do a little draft here on draft day. We're going to have 9 picks. 3 for me, 3 for Stu, 3 for Samter. Who will be the best 9 players, period? The fine 9 from these NFL, from the NFL draft, the 2025 NFL draft. We will go to these players next. We'll give you those selections. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
We have a trade. So, right before the break, we had this report from Diana Rossini. Hours away from the start of the first round, Browns GM Andrew Berry has been actively listening to offers for the number 2 overall pick, and many believe he's willing to move back a few spots. Cleveland has holes to fill and have just 4 top 100 picks to address them. That was the information from Diana Rossini right before we went to break. During the break, 2 minutes ago, Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, trade, Houston Texans and Cleveland Browns. But it has nothing to do with the 2nd overall pick. Now,
that's mean.
Does this set the stage for something? I don't know. Is this one domino falls and then another domino falls potentially? The Texans have traded a 2025 fifth-round pick, which is 166 overall, and a 2027 fifth-round pick. And the Browns trade 3 2025 picks, one which is in the 6th round at 179th overall, one also in the 6th round at 216 overall, and the 2025 7th-round pick, which is 255 overall. So that's the first trade, I guess, of this NFL draft process. Not one that makes you go, ooh, ah. It's like, who really cares? I have updated odds, by the way. You guys want to take a guess? Ashton Jeanty. Since we are the Ashton Jeanty show on the Infinity Sports Network, and quite frankly, all national media. No one has talked more about Ashton Jeanty than your boy. Who do you think is the favorite right now in the betting world to draft Ashton Jeanty?
It sounds like it's got to be the Jaguars at 5, but...
Hold on. Don't give me a but, because then you're going to list 4,000 teams. So you're just going the
I'm
Jaguars.
going Jaguars at 5.
Jaguars.
I, too, am going Jaguars.
The Jaguars have the second highest odds for Ashton Jeanty. They are at plus 125.
They were just at minus 230 like a half hour ago. This is going crazy.
Yeah, no, these were 10 minutes ago from Kay Adams via FanDuel Sportsbook.
I mean, Jeanty's on a meteoric rise. So are we going Patriots?
The Patriots have the fourth highest odds. Stu?
All right, I'm going to throw one out there. What about the Bears trading up from 10 to get Jeanty?
Ding, 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 ding. Stu, come on down to collect your prize. We'll give you an Odyssey mug right here. That was game used today.
Great.
The Bears at minus 180. The Jaguars at plus 125. The Raiders at plus 500. The Patriots at plus 1,400. The Cleveland Browns at plus 2,500. You want to know who has the sixth highest odds to get Ashton Jeanty right now? You think any of you guys could get this? This one makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Steelers.
No. I'll tell you the conference. NFC. You'll never get this.
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Nope. Stu?
Cowboys?
Nope. You'll never get this.
Okay. Eagles.
Right ballpark, but no. Team has an established running
Not
back.
the Lions.
No, not the Lions. Think two running backs, though.
San Francisco?
Nope, not San Francisco. And I'm a big fan of this guy. You've met him, Samter.
Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You know why? Because the Falcons make a shocking pick every year.
At plus 3,100. And Bijan Robinson, he's only joined us twice, so we can't say friend to the show. But when Bijan Robinson sat down with us at the Super Bowl this year, and he goes, oh, I remember doing this show last year because I ran to the bathroom and came back in like less than a minute and a half when we said you have a minute and a half left to break. He goes, oh, I can make that there and back. And I go, okay, let's see. And then he made it clear that he also washed his hands when he went to the bathroom.
Bijan and Tyler Algier, there's no way they could go running back. If the Falcons go running back, that would be a worse pick than signing Kirk Cousins and then drafting Michael Penix.
Well, that's like working out right now. I think people highly believe that Michael Penix is going to do well this year. It's just the process was all funky.
But here's the thing. Had the Falcons not drafted a quarterback last year, we would have given Kirk Cousins his opportunity and his shot, and no one would be talking about it. Maybe he would have struggled last year, but then you chalk it up to, hey, he's just 1 year off of a torn Achilles. Give him some time. He'll be fine.
And he had a great moment early in the season against the Eagles. They didn't play well for 3 quarters. I was there, though, at Lincoln Financial Field, and he matriculated that ball right down the field at the end and put it in the end zone. But, yeah, I would be shocked. Also, I think I could use this as a side note. Maybe Ashton Jeanty does go to the Bears tonight and the Bears trade up to get him, right? That's been speculated. I don't know how much stock I put into these pre-draft odds because I remember Will Levis. It was, he's like the betting favorite for about an hour to be the number 1 overall pick. And then it was, if not, then he'll definitely be going like in the top 5. He fell right out of the first round. So I have no clue what to anticipate, what's going to happen. But if I'm Chicago, I would absolutely use a ton of resources to move up in this draft when, I don't want to say you stabilize your offensive line, but you enhance your offensive line. People think that this offensive line is going to be so much better than last year. I've been saying this for months. I would like to see either Tyler Warren or Ashton Jeanty go to Chicago. And if you can't get them at 10, because I'd be surprised if either of those players are there at 10, maybe you do move up in the draft and say, bleep it, we're going to go for it. And look what happened with Ben Johnson. He had David Montgomery, and he also had Jahmyr Gibbs. And a lot of people criticized them when they took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, and they've had a nice 1-2 punch in Detroit. So then you could bring in Jeanty in Chicago, right? And he would be the bell cow back because, like, the other Chicago running backs, you don't have another, like, running back there that everyone's like, oh my goodness gracious, it's unbelievable. I think, is DeAndre Swift still there in Chicago? Look up their running back depth chart right now. But the point is, you would have a bell cow back with a quarterback right now that is really a guy that could be impressive, and people thought it's a generational talent. Plus, you have DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. It's a fun offense.
Yeah, you have DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, Travis Homer, and Ian Wheeler.
Yeah, so basically you have DeAndre Swift, who, let's be real, DeAndre Swift's had a nice career. Oh, and he was in Detroit. Excuse me, he was the guy that was in Detroit when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. And they ended up bringing Montgomery over from Chicago. But DeAndre Swift's like a nice player in this league. His best year was in Philadelphia. No crap, because he played behind that offensive line. It's like Miles Sanders. When was your best year? In Philadelphia. When he signed with Carolina, I never expected much out of him. So I'm for the Bears moving up in this draft and getting Ashton Jeanty. And you could pair in that backfield Caleb Williams and Ashton Jeanty. That would be awesome.
I know you kind of discussed this earlier in the week, but if you can't get Jeanty, you can't get Warren. What do you think about Amarian Hampton at 10 for the Bears? I mean, you look at his numbers, man. 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards, back-to-back 15 touchdown seasons, 6 yards a carry over the last 2 years. The dude's a beast.
And he could catch the ball out of the backfield, too. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think you could trade back, though, and still get him. I do. So the quote that Mac Brown gave me, I just searched it on Twitter. Mac Brown told me Amarian Hampton is as good as any running back he's ever coached. And he's coached Ricky Williams, right? That's pretty damn impressive. And now you could smoke marijuana if you want, legally, in most places. So even if Amarian Hampton liked a little puff pass, look at that draft analysis. That was a problem for Ricky Williams staying in the NFL. I would be fine if the Bears move back a little bit and then they go get Amarian Hampton. But at 10, probably a little bit too early. Now, with that being said, the worst case scenario for the Bears is if somehow you have Banks, Membu, and Will Campbell off the board, with Jeanty off the board, and Tyler Warren. Then maybe you just go draft whatever the best defensive player is, because of all the offensive players that would be going in 5 out of the first 9 picks before you get to 10. So that's something that's on the table as well. All righty, let's do this. Do we have NFL music right here? Stu, I'm thinking of a number. 1, 2, or 3?
2.
It is 1. Stu has the first pick. Samter, I'm thinking of a number. 1, 2, or 3?
3.
2. You have the second pick. And then I have the third pick. Basically, I wanted the third pick. That's why I kind of just did it in a very creative fashion. If any of you guys actually guessed the number, I would have said, what pick do you want? And you get to make that decision. So, Stu, you have 1. Samter has 2. I have 3.
That is correct.
Is that what we just did? Sorry, a little short-term memory problem right there. What's your first pick here, Stu?
I'm going Travis Hunter. I think he is the best guy. He can play 2 positions. He'll definitely excel at 1. It's just a matter of if he'll excel at 2. So he's my guy there.
And these are the best players in the draft who we think will be the Fine 9, the 9 finest players in this NFL draft. Samter.
I'm glad he went Hunter 1 because it's clear that Abdul Carter is going to have the best career of anybody in this draft.
All righty. I am going to go Mason Graham. I'm going to take Mason Graham. Now, I'm high on Mason Graham. I don't know how high you guys would have been on Mason Graham, so I did think about passing on Mason Graham and seeing if I could then get him when I have to pick again, but I don't know if he still would have been on the board. But I will go Mason Graham, and then I get another pick here, and I am taking Ashton Jeanty. Samter.
That's disappointing. I was kind of hoping that Ashton Jeanty would fall through the cracks.
You really think I would pass on Ashton Jeanty?
Yes.
I have been the most positive person about Ashton Jeanty, I think, in the history of sports talk radio.
This is very true.
Yeah, figuring that most people only knew who he was the last year.
I am going to go with the Jets' first-round pick at number 7, Mr. Tyler Warren.
Would you be disappointed the Jets don't take Tyler Warren?
They need offensive line help, but we've drafted so many offensive linemen in the last 2 years, or last 3 or 4 years in the first 2 rounds. I'm just tired of it. So I would be, unless someone else fell to them. But maybe Ted McMillan, we could use another wide receiver. But I love having that weapon at tight end. So I'd be disappointed, but I'd be okay if they went O-line. It would just be,
oh my God,
just enough is enough.
I went to search the Jets because I was trying to find this story. Well, first off, I think there's a lot of things to unpack with what Samter just said. You are against You prefer the tight ends over the offensive lineman is what you're saying.
I'm not against offensive linemen, but I don't want an offensive lineman.
Well, I find it funny. That's another fight that you and BT have had because BT was adamant, even though he picked Tyler Warren, he was like, I want them to take an offensive lineman. So not the first time Samter and BT have disagreed. But also, I kind of look at that, and I don't think it'd be the craziest thing in the world if they did take an offensive lineman tonight. But I would say if you want to put Justin Fields in the best position to succeed, you could argue it is offensive line, but you put Tyler Warren and also Garrett Wilson. Now, notice I didn't say Breece Hall. Have you seen the Breece Hall stuff today at all? Have you?
Not all of it.
There's speculation that the Jets could actually trade Breece Hall tonight.
I've seen that for the past couple weeks, that there is some buildup.
So, it was Josina Anderson. She said a league source has been hearing that the Jets could possibly be trading Breece Hall, or he's possibly available was the wording for a trade. And Breece Hall, I've always said this. I think I had a good idea a few years ago. We should have an emoji analyst. Like someone that just does analysis based off emojis. Because Breece Hall did the peace emoji today. So does that mean like, oh, I want to go? Or I know I'm getting traded? Or just him playing into this whole, hey, I'm going to play along with people now speculating that I'm not going to be on this team this year?
I think the reality is he's entering the final year of his rookie contract. He was a second-round pick, so they don't have the fifth-year option on him.
Wants more straight cash?
And at the end of the day, like how, like unless you're a Derrick Henry or
Saquon
Barkley,
he didn't do a piece. It's
middle
actually
finger?
worse. Fingers crossed.
Oh.
So now this could be, I thought it was a peace emoji at first, and then I zoomed in, I go, oh, that's not a peace emoji, it's finger crossed. So now Breece Hall's like, get me out of this hellhole of the New York Jets. Fingers crossed, please. Or it's, hey, fingers crossed, I don't want to go. I hope I'm not going to
it could be that. Could be that.
What do you, Stu, you've been in disastrous situations in the NFL. What do you think's more likely?
Yeah, a lot.
you think it's the first or the second part? Breece Hall, you think he's begging to go or begging to stay?
Begging to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where that's going.
Maybe the Jets take Amari and Hampton with the 7th overall pick. All right, anyway. Santa's going back to rooting for the Chiefs. Off the board so far, Stu, best 9 players in this draft. Stu goes Travis Hunter. Samter goes Abdul Carter, Tyler Warren. I have Mason Graham and Ashton Jeanty. Stu, give us your next pick.
All right, my first pick here, I will go with Will Campbell. I know there are concerns about the arm length, but everything else seems to check out as a generational type of offensive lineman, whether that being a left tackle or left guard. So I'll go Will Campbell with my first pick here.
And then your second pick, are you going to reach here?
Depends what you mean by reach. I'm going to go Cam Ward.
It was a Will Campbell joke.
I see.
Yeah.
I'll go Cam Ward. I know he hasn't gone yet, and
smart.
Some people have him as like a mid first round pick or late first round pick, whatever, but he's the first guy taken. He's the quarterback. I'm not confident he's going to be better than the guys ahead of him, but look, he's the first pick.
And to be clear, he's my first guy out. So I've given my top 5 rankings now for the last few months, and it was Abdul Carter 1, Travis Hunter 2, Mason Graham 3, Ashton Jeanty 4, Tyler Warren 5. I think the 6th best player in this draft is Cam Ward. All right, Sam Dios, one final pick.
So my head is telling me Tet McMillan, but my heart as a Sun Devil fan cannot pick Tet McMillan. I'm going to go...
The most bizarre fandoms, by the way, is Samter. Like that... My Sun Devil's heart is telling me I can't go Tet McMillan.
I can't go Tet McMillan. I can't take Tet McMillan. I've seen too much about him. He had that video, if you saw the interview, where he's like, I don't watch film. I don't like football. Yeah. I don't watch football. Like, that bothers me. Like, guys who just don't like this sport, it's not for me. So I'm going to go, Georgia has just been so good with all these guys on defense who've come into the league, Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis. And so I'm just going to have to go with it and go Jalen Walker.
Part of me wants to get real funky here and just go Malachi Starks off the Georgia stuff. Stu, you kind of like that opinion, right?
I like that. That's great.
But I'm not going to do it. You want to know why? Because I'm looking at this board. Stu, he respected an offensive lineman. Samter wants no part of an offensive line. I respect the big fellas. And this game is won in the trenches. So I'm looking at this draft. I already took Mason Graham. Is there another defensive lineman that I could go with? Yeah, there's a few out there, probably more edge rushers if I'm being honest. But I'm just going to go with a safe pick here. And I'm going to take the big tackle out of Missouri, Armin Membu. That's what I'm going to end up doing here. So the 9 best players in this draft. Oh. Can I take a timeout? Can I actually just reverse my pick?
Nope.
Was that already submitted?
Nope. The card has been submitted. The commissioner has announced it. You are stuck with Armin Membu.
Okay. Everything I just said, throw it in the trash. Folks.
There's a guy that I have an idea of who you might be thinking of.
Take a guess.
A guy who was a top 5 projected pick before the season who's kind of fallen because of injuries.
It is not Will Johnson.
Ah, okay.
But a possibility. That's not a bad thought.
Your favorite quarterback in this draft, Jackson Dart.
Oh, yeah, Jackson Dart.
You want me to take a dart and throw it at your head?
It's got to be Shedeur.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
considered him. I considered him.
Coach Prime, I'm a believer. I apologize. It's a bad job out of me. Alrighty. So the 9 best players in this draft, according to us in a draft. Travis Hunter was 1. Then it was Abdul Carter 2. Then it was Mason Graham 3. Then it was Ashton Jeanty 4. Then it was Tyler Warren 5. Then it was Will Campbell 6. Then it was Cam Ward 7. Then it was Jalen Walker 8. Then it was Armin Membu for a hot second, and then Shedeur Sanders in at 9. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief next. Also, by the way, funny thing here still, Dimitroff was here and Andrew Perloff were here. You know what they both told me? They said they love the temperature in this studio. That's what they both told me. They said at 66
That's like a hot
degrees,
take around here.
It was perfect. It was sensational. They said, oh, we like the temperature in this studio. It was wonderful. Yeah, I'm just saying. All right. Anyway.
Did they like the chairs?
Yes, they liked the chairs. They thought the chairs were good. Updated, new, and improved chairs. We'll get to a news brief next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time. Ian Rappaport. So Aditi just said on CBS that she's hearing he could fall out of the first round. Well, Ian Rappaport was on the Rich Eisen show, which comes on right before we go live at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can hear Rich from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Fridays on the Infinity Sports Network. And Ian Rappaport said there's still a chance that Shedeur Sanders could actually go 3 to the New York Football Giants.
I believe he's in play at 3. I don't know if they're going to take him, but I believe he's in play. And he should be in play because if you're the Giants and you need a quarterback, and this is a quarterback who is worthy of going in the first round, and there are definitely people who believe he's a franchise quarterback. Not everyone, definitely people. Then there is sort of some wisdom to be like, just take him. Whatever you think, just take him. And quarterbacks have been overdrafted for years, and some pan out and some do not. So I believe Shedeur is in play at 3. If he's not taken at 3, then it gets really interesting. And then it threatens to take over the draft like Johnny Manziel did, where like every pick, you're like, is this where Shedeur's going to go?
I think that actually starts with the Saints. Like, they'll talk about it, obviously. Shedeur will be talked about every pick until he goes tonight. He's the biggest star in this draft. Not the best player, the biggest star in terms of name recognition. And number one, what are they going to say? Oh, is this the right move? Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? 2, what are they going to say? Oh, Travis Hunter. Should Cleveland have taken Shedeur Sanders? Or can they go get him later in the draft? 3, Abdul Carter. Should the Giants have taken Shedeur Sanders, or could they go get him later in the draft? 4, it will be, oh, can anyone trade up to 4 but the Patriots for Shedeur? Then after that, the Raiders will be talked about with Shedeur. And once he doesn't go to the Saints at 9, then it's going to be every NFL insider. Schefter, Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, Jay Glazer, Jordan Schultz, what they're hearing on when Shedeur could go, and it's going to be the Steelers at 21, or maybe someone jumps up in front of the Steelers at 18, 19, or 20. By the way, Stu, your team is in the news. You have any idea what this is?
I can't imagine it's good.
From the Las Vegas Raiders official Twitter account. Are you nervous?
If it's from the official account, no.
Eyeball emojis.
Okay, eyeball emojis.
That's what they just did. They just put out 2 eyes.
Did they? Oh, jeez. Okay.
What do you think that is? Raiders at 6. First comment. As a Raider fan, I speak for all of us when I say we want you to trade up for Shedeur. Now, that can't actually be a Raider fan because they could get Shedeur if they want him.
Jackson Dart at 6.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If this is how the first 5 picks play out, and I think I've asked you this before, but the answer's changed so many times. But if the first 5 picks play out as this: 1, Cam Ward; 2, Travis Hunter; 3, Abdul Carter; 4, Will Campbell; 5, let's say Ashton Jeanty. Who do you want to take in 6?
Am I allowed to try to trade back to try to get picks because I don't love anyone that is there?
You could have whatever you like.
My first option would be trade. My second would be Membu. And then I guess Mason Graham third.
No Shedeur?
Yeah, okay, Shedeur 1, but I've kind of wiped that totally out of my brain because I really just don't see it happening.
Okay, that's fair.
But you're right. Shedeur would be 1, and then trade back would be 2 in that scenario.
Now, I haven't heard this yet. We played you some Aditi Kinkobale audio from CBS Sports earlier. Is this slug line correct? Dart's floor is 9 or is it ceiling? The floor is 9? Well, so that's where she thinks is the latest he could drop, if I understand that correctly? All right, let me hear this one.
What I'm being told is that Jackson Dart is not going to fall beyond that number 9 pick and the Saints. Somebody could potentially go above the Saints to try to go get him, but that's not what I'm hearing right now, that is a pick that Kellen Moore really liked.
Too bad that wasn't Diana Rossini, because then I could really sound like Chase Daniel right there. Huh? Like, it was McShay who talked about how much the Saints love Dart. If Jackson Dart is the 9th overall pick in the draft, I'm not yelling at Aditi's information because it may be right. But if that's the case, what effing world do we live in? I'll lose my mind. You cannot take Jackson Dart with the 9th overall pick. That would be insanity to me. So, and someone could move up in front of the Saints at 9. Oh my God. So, can I ask a question? And it used to not be this way. What I'm being told, who's telling you? I know you're not going to tell us your sources, but who's telling you that the floor is 9 for Jackson Dart? Jalen Milroe up at Adams with Kay Adams and the possibility of going to the New York Football Giants.
I bet you Malik Neighbors, who you're friendly with, went against him a bunch too, but I bet he's pushing the Giants front office to draft you.
Yeah.
You know he is.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Might be true.
I can't imagine you and Jameis and Russell in the quarterback room.
Hey, look, that would be the funniest room in the NFL. Like, hands down, that would be the best room.
That would be a fun quarterback room. Because Russell Wilson, Mr. Limited. And then you got Jameis Winston. Is the crab legs right that he stole? And then a bunch of other things, but Jameis Winston, anytime he speaks, he gives you a crazy quote. And Jalen Milroe is hysterical. The Roll Tide stuff that he does is absolutely awesome. It seems like the Giants, if they're going to get a quarterback today, it's going to be Jackson Dart. I think they should go for Shedeur Sanders. If they can't get Shedeur Sanders, then I would go with Jalen Milroe. Jed Fish, this is the Unafraid show. He coached Ted McMillan at Arizona, and he compares Ted McMillan to Mike Evans.
T-Mac reminded me so much in our 3rd year. Like, you kind of have to grow into being Mike Evans, let's call it. His ability to drop his weight is similar to Mike Evans. His ability to run all the routes in a route tree is similar. And I really feel like somebody is going to take T-Mac, have a 10, 12-year run, if they want to, with one of the best wide receivers that we'll see.
If I could get Mike Evans, if that's guaranteed to me, then Ted McMillan should be a top 10 pick. Because Mike Evans is one of the safest football players we've ever seen. Let's go to Matt Leinart. I don't know why we're going to Matt Leinart today, but this probably is funny. This on TikTok. He has a surprising message to Arizona Cardinals fans.
All right, so this message is to all the Arizona Cardinals fans. We're here in Green Bay, Wisconsin for the draft. And honestly, it just brings back a lot of great memories. 2006, I was drafted 10th overall to Arizona. It really, truly changed my life forever. And I just wanted to tell you fans, the Bidwells, and everybody in that organization that I'm sorry. Truly, I'm sorry that it didn't work out. It's a shame.
Is it too late now to say sorry? Like, play a little Bieber behind that. Was that, so you saw that, Samter. Was that genuine, or was that him with basically a bleep-eating grin on his face and just not really caring?
He didn't have the grin on his face, but the more you listen to it, there's no way that it could have been legitimate.
It didn't seem sincere.
No, it seemed like he's like, hey, screw you guys, like whatever, but...
Bizarre. Kincaid and Salchunas on 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia had Adam Schefter on. Shefty said GMs are afraid of Howie Roseman.
Last week, you said, are their teams scared of doing business? I said, no, they're going to call. They're not going to shy away from it. But I will say this. They are mindful of his track record, because I did have one GM say to me this week where this guy was talking about moving back and who would come up, and Philly came up, and the guy goes to me, he was joking around. Yeah, we're blocking all calls from the 215 area code into our facility.
Well, good thing we also have the 609 and 610. You
and
never
Howie
know.
has burners, I'm sure. You know that.
Exactly.
Honestly, if I was a team, I would think twice, maybe even 3 times, maybe even 4 times. I would not do business with the Eagles or the Chiefs, because look how great those teams are right now. Like the Bills last year, getting that deal done with the Chiefs in the draft. Why would you trade with the Chiefs? I just wouldn't do it. Let's go to Joe Thomas. He was on with us yesterday, and he talked about the possibility of the Browns getting Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Could you imagine if they find a way to also get Shedeur, and you get Shedeur and Travis Hunter on the same team once again?
Unfortunately, I never made the playoffs in my career as a Brown, and so as Browns fans, we always say the draft is our Super Bowl, and if that happened, we would win the Super Bowl this year.
Wow. You would be that excited about it.
Yeah, I really like Shedeur. I mean, I don't think he's the right pick at number 2 because of all the things I said about Travis Hunter, but I think as a quarterback, I think he's got the most important trait, and that's decision-making and accuracy. You can turn that skill set into a great quarterback in the NFL. Now, are you going to be Patrick Mahomes without a huge arm and amazing athleticism? No, but look throughout NFL history at the best quarterbacks. What sets them apart is always their decision-making and their accuracy. The guys who are self-made, like the Tom Bradys, the Drew Breeses, that's what they did best. And if you can do that, you can have great success at quarterback, and that's what I see with Shedeur Sanders.
And let's get one more from Joe Thomas. He sounded off on the whole Will Campbell short arm stuff.
I got some PTSD because that's why I wasn't going to be a good NFL player. And I always found it so funny. You know, you got these measurables, and, you know, obviously always faster is better, stronger is better, longer arms, bigger hands are always better. But there's such a flaw in the measurement system for a lot of these combine tests. And, you know, arm length is one of them. And I'll try to keep it brief because I've got a lot of scars about this one. But they measure from, like, the point of your shoulder to the tip of your middle finger. And when they say you have short or long arms, the difference is like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So if there's a guy that's got really long middle finger, he might have short arms, but he's got a long middle finger, and they call him long-armed. When really, if you look at how you play the position, nobody's poking the defense with their middle finger. Like, you're striking them with a bent arm, you're hitting them with the palm of your hand. And so, like, having 1 inch or 2 longer arms, yeah, it's better to be longer than it is shorter in life in general. But, like, it really is. It's irrelevant. Your arms and your hands are just a way to connect the defensive player to your feet, and you control people with your feet as an offensive tackle. So the whole arm length thing, to me, is ridiculous.
Great stuff there. Joe Thomas joining us on the show yesterday. Alrighty, I will squeeze in one non-football point today. And it's the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. That series now tied up at 1 apiece. And Steve Kerr, he wasn't happy that the fans were chanting F you Draymond last night. Listen up to Steve Kerr. Wah.
It's not ideal when a crowd is, chanting F you Draymond. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it did it in Boston a few years ago in the finals. It is what it is. Draymond's, he's been around forever. He's an instigator. He's always going to be in the mix. And because of his career, his championships, his fire, he's going to be a lightning rod. And that's all part of it. I would prefer, if fans could use a little more discretion and, remember that, the guy has kids and, it's like there's kids. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school, but I'm all for the fans cheering for their team. And if they want to yell at the opponents, great. But I don't know. I just think FU it's a little much.
If they were chanting FU Steph Curry, I would agree with everything Steve Kerr just said. But Draymond Green, do we just forget about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, he spread a lie that Karl Anthony Towns missed the game because he was ducking Jimmy Butler when Karl Anthony Towns was dealing with a private matter because he had a family friend pass away because of cancer, right? That's what Draymond Green was lying about. And then also the same Draymond Green that punched his own teammate in the face and then also kicks, grown men in the cojones. All right? So, sorry. I'm not playing my small little violin for Draymond Green and, now we have to put, a little extra love and care with Draymond Green because God forbid that his family hears the fans chant FU Draymond when Draymond Green runs his mouth about every player in the NBA and said something about Karl Anthony Towns, which was absolutely disgraceful and despicable. It's amazing how the Golden State Warriors are the first person to really hold their nose high when Draymond Green, someone goes after him. But anytime Draymond does something that makes him look like a jackass, they just look the other way. Enough with the Warriors. I love Steph Curry. The rest of the Warriors, they're insufferable right now. They really are. All righty, we'll come on back when we do return. Adam Schefter with the latest on Shedeur Sanders and my final top 10 mock draft on what's going to go down tonight. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
The foundations of strong organizations are built over these next few days as the NFL Draft begins tonight with the first round in Green Bay. The Titans are up first and by all accounts ready to use that top pick on Miami quarterback Cam Ward, who impressed new GM Mike Borgonzi when they met face-to-face.
The competitive edge that he has, you can feel that talking with the kid. He's very intelligent. We've had him on the board several times with Brian. And just, the family. He comes from a great family as well.
The Browns are second and likely to go with Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. A lot of day baseball today. The Brewers have a 5-4 lead over the Giants in the top of the sixth. Matt Chapman with a home run for San Francisco in this one, as well as Mike Yastrzemski. The Rockies and Royals, game 2 of a doubleheader just underway and scoreless in the first. Game 1 went to Kansas City 7-4 as Bobby Witt Jr. extended his hitting streak to 15 straight games. The Mariners edged the Red Sox 4-3, while a rain-shortened 7-inning game in Minnesota with the White Sox blanking the Twins by a score of 3-0. Getting underway in a little more than an hour from now will be the Orioles and Nationals in Washington. I'm Rich Acker.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God.
All righty, we got 3 things to do before we get on out of here. 4 things to do before we get on out of here. I'm going to give you my final top 10 mock draft. I'm going to give you 5 bold things I would like to see happen tonight. I'll play you this Adam Schefter sound, and I'm going to take a phone call. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We got 8 minutes to do all that. Joe in Rochester, go quickly. Joe, what do you got?
Go Bills. All right, guys, what if we make a trade with Tennessee? We send 30. We send next year's first. We send James Cook. We take Travis Hunter and get back TK McClendon Jr. off the defensive line from them. Hunter could be the one player that puts us in the Super Bowl.
So you're telling me that you think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be able to go up for 30 with what, 2 extra first-round picks and James Cook to get to 1?
James Cook, 30, next year's first, and maybe you throw in one of our second. You go get the generational player that puts us over the top on both sides of the football.
You know what I think you'll need to do? I think you're going to need to then put in about 400 wings and a bunch of blue cheese to have any chance for the Browns, for the Tennessee Titans to say yes to that.
I'll buy the celery.
It's a fun call, Joe. I think there's a better chance that I'll be going on a date tonight with Beyonce, then followed up by Holly Berry, then followed up by Sydney Sweeney.
Well,
then you moving up to 1.
Get her a nice bottle of champagne, brother. We can make this happen.
You got it, Joe. I appreciate that. That's a great phone call. I was like, give me a third name of a really attractive woman. And I go, what's that lady's last name? Oh, yeah, Sydney Sweeney. You know. That's an awesome phone call. Here's my final top 10 mock draft. This is what I think is going to happen. The Tennessee Titans are going to take the pick and trade it to Buffalo. And they'll get Travis Hunter. Just kidding. Tennessee, Cam Ward. Cleveland, Travis Hunter. Giants, Abdul Carter. Patriots, Will Campbell. Jaguars, Ashton Jeanty. Raiders, Armin Membu. Jets, Tyler Warren. Panthers, Mason Graham. Saints, Michael Williams. Bears, Jalen Walker. That's what I think is going to be the first 10 picks. Who will be the first 10 picks of the draft tonight? Adam Schefter with the latest report on the ESPN about the draft stock of Shedeur Sanders. Here's Shefty.
On Shedeur, I think we're not going to hear his name at 2. We're not going to hear his name at 3. I don't think we're going to hear his name at 9. And so then the question becomes, is there a team that's going to trade up into the teens, which it's hard to see that right now. And so we are on a collision course to where he could go down to number 21 and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers then would have a decision to make here. And that would dictate so much because we will have seen one quarterback picked. And if they don't take Shedeur Sanders, what's the motivation for a Cleveland team that doesn't sound like it's going to be aggressive tonight on a quarterback, or even a Giants team that, despite its fans' hopes, might not be aggressive tonight on a quarterback? What's the chances that one of these teams is going to push up for a quarterback? Maybe not. So if no Shedeur at 21, we might get one quarterback tonight.
Wow. Samter, yes or no? Does Shedeur Sanders hear his name called tonight?
Yes.
Stu, yes or no? Does Shedeur Sanders hear his name called tonight?
Yes.
Where?
Late 20s, probably the Giants.
Oh, so you think the Steelers are going to pass on him?
I do.
Okay. Samter, what's the team?
No later than 21st if a team tries to try. I don't think he's fallen past the Steelers, whether Rodgers goes there or not. So I think that either a team's going to trade up ahead of the Steelers to get him or 21, but no later than 21.
I'm going to say yes to the Steelers. If it's not the Steelers, though, I don't think a trade's happening. And I think he's falling out of the first round then. But I'll still go with the Steelers. Diana Rossini just tweeted out, teams picking in the top 10 have shared over the last hour they expect the Jaguars to make a splash tonight, per sources. So that would make sense on Jeanty. That's what I think that would be. Okay. Here are 5 bold things I would like to see happen tonight. Number 1, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders wind up on the same team and it beat Cleveland. Number 2, the Giants snag Jalen Milroe. I would love to see the pairing of Brian Daboll and Jalen Milroe. Milroe, a great north and south runner, and also he has a big arm. The accuracy, though, and putting it all together, the intermediate throws are of big concern. I would love to see the Patriots take Ashton Jeanty. So Mike Vrabel could go get his version of Derrick Henry at one Patriot place. 4, the Cincinnati Bengals. Haven't they been fascinating? Now, I threw out there as like a bizarre take to Perloff. Oh, maybe they go 3 wide receivers. You got Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins. Maybe you go get Golden from Texas. Could you get McMillan from Arizona? You know, is there maybe a Buka from Ohio State? And then Perloff was a voice of reason. He goes, they got to do something defensively. He's not wrong. Malachi Starks would be awesome for them in the secondary, especially because ever since they lost Jesse Bates, that defense has been totally different. But I'm going to say Bengals Mike Green from Marshall. They need someone to either complement Trey Hendrickson or eventually replace Trey Hendrickson. And then I have a Tet McMillan destination that I would like to see him go. How about the Denver Broncos? The Broncos had a very good season. I thought they had a bottom 5 roster in the league. They ended up making the playoffs. They lost that playoff game to Buffalo in the 2-7 matchup. But you have Bo Nix, who this time last year, not many were that optimistic or high on Bo Nix. Now a lot of people are looking at Bo Nix saying he's a good quarterback. And Denver has something right there. Still got Cortland Sutton out there in Denver. But Denver could really use another playmaker. It's not as if they have the greatest playmakers in the world when you look at that team. So a lot of people think they could go running back. Like I've heard this, Omarion Hampton could be a fit there in Denver. I know they brought in Evan Ingram this offseason. If you go get Torrey McMillan, who people are comparing to Mike Evans, and you get a legit number one weapon there, number one weapon potential for Bo Nix, I would like that a lot. All righty, look at that. I told you I would squeeze in an Adam Schefter report, my final top 10 mock draft, 5 bold things that I think could happen, and then also a phone call. That phone call, Joe in Rochester. He called me Gelbos or whatever, Gelbino, whatever. I kind of like whatever he said to me. And then he advocated for the Bills moving on to 1 to get Travis Hunter.
Let's call Brandon Bean.
That is Sports Talk Radio at its finest, folks. Big thanks to Thomas Dimitroff for joining us in our chilly studio today, which I think is just the right temperature. Big thanks to also Andrew Perloff for doing the same thing. Big thanks to Stuart Kovacs. Big thanks to Michael Samter. But most importantly, a big thank you to each and every one of you, whether you call the show, whether you listen to the show, and whether you watch the show. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. I don't know what we're going to be talking about which player is going where, but I could guarantee you this. We are going to have 3 hours of fun tomorrow because we are going to be reacting to all things NFL draft. And I absolutely love the draft. I can't wait to leave the studio in 20 seconds and park my fat or slightly lesser fatter ass on the couch, eat food, maybe make a drink, put out some videos, and watch a ton of draft. All righty, we out, everybody. Bye-bye. Peace.